The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast. With Lookers. New or used, they've got something for every taste. Visit them today.
3 big games in the Premiership to come, and of course across the divisions in Scotland and beyond. We'll be bringing you all the updates from those. Let's have a focus on those games kicking off at 3 o'clock though, because there is a lot to look forward to around the grounds. We have the top team all around at the moment. Where should we start? Let's go to Dave Galloway, who will be watching Dundee against Kilmarnock at Dens Park. And it's 2 managers, Dave, that know each other very well.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. Best pals, Tony Docherty and Derek McInnes. They will be putting their strong friendship to one side just for a few hours as they go head to head in opposing dugouts for the very first time. Doc, of course, enjoyed 15 years as Dell's assistant at a number of clubs: St Johnstone, Bristol City, Aberdeen and Kilmarnock, before deciding to go his own way and take up the managerial reins here at Dundee in May. Both the D's and Killie, well, they've had inconsistent seasons so far results wise. It's been a bit up and down, with 1 win and 2 draws each from their first 5 Premiership games, and they'll see today's encounter as an ideal opportunity to maybe start building some momentum. Everything seems to be pointing towards a close game here today between 2 evenly matched teams, with both bosses knowing each other inside out, as I've already touched upon. I think it'll be very interesting to see what impact that could have on this afternoon's game.
Yeah, I mean, Derek McInnes said that he didn't think it was going to be weird coming up against Tony Docherty, but I think Tony Docherty will be quite happy that he'll be, getting a chance to test himself against his old pal Derek McInnes.
Well, the old professional instincts have to kick in. It's not about their friendship. It's not about the years they had together and where they had them. This is about Tony Dock trying to get points for Dundee and Derek McInnes trying to get Kilmarnock back again, because Kilmarnock have a big cup tie midweek via Play Cup. They've already put Celtic out of the competition, and he wants a positive result today. So there are no friends in football, as these two will tell you, only acquaintances.
Yeah, and Tony Docherty, I mean, it's interesting with Dundee when a side comes up and they have a new manager, people still trying to maybe figure out exactly how Dundee are going to do this season and what they're likely to achieve, Gordon.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think the most important thing for Tony Dalton Dundee, especially this season, is probably their home record. Try and get some points on the board. They will look at certain fixtures. They'll probably fancy this afternoon, but it will be difficult against Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock got off to such a great start. We're on a very much a high. Everyone's talking about this could be a big season for them, and they've really dipped, you've got to say. So that'll be an interesting encounter there at Dens Park this afternoon. I think Dave's in for a good one.
Hibs against St Johnstone at Easter Road. The Hibs fans will be expectant, Roger Hanna, and wondering what Nick Montgomery's side will look like at Easter Road for the first time.
Yeah, it's a very good point you make. Nick Montgomery tells us he's already learned the lyrics to the Proclaimers anthem Sunshine on Leith, Andrew, but he won't want his heart broken over these next 8 days, because this could be a wonderful start for Nick Montgomery. Home to bottom of the table St Johnstone today, home to St Mirren on Wednesday night in a League Cup quarter final, and home to newly promoted Dundee next Saturday. If he can get 3 wins under his belt in the next 8 days, he'll have taken Hibs to Hampden, he'll have moved them well up the league, and he'll also have got them in good nick for the trip to Tynecastle in his first Edinburgh derby at the start of next month. He's made 3 changes to the side that he saw blow a 2-goal lead at Rugby Park last Saturday. Down to the bench go Lewis Stevenson, Eli Ewan and Christian Doidge. In come Jordan Obita, Adam Lafondra and Jair Tavares. Is a first start, as we said earlier, in 13 months for the young Portuguese winger. So Hibs go with David Marshall in goal. It's a back 4 of Lewis Miller, Will Fish, Rocky Bashiri and Jordan Obita. In midfield, Martin Boyle, Jimmy Jago, Joe Newell, the skipper, and Jair Tavares. And up top, Adam Lafondra and Dylan Venta. On the bench, it's Boruk, Hanlon, Levitt, Ewan, Stevenson, Doidge, Del Ferrier, Campbell and 16-year-old Rory Whittaker. It's interesting, Montgomery clashed actually with the St Johnstone manager Stephen Mclean in a Sheffield derby 17 years ago at Hillsborough. Stephen Mclean scored in his only meeting with Montgomery, but Montgomery edged it as a 2-1 winner, so Stephen Mclean were hoping to turn that round today. His side, they prop up the Premiership table alongside Aberdeen, just 2 draws so far. Their only win this season in the League Cup at Alloa back in July. They did get a point at Celtic Park last month, but Mclean really trying to bed in 11 summer signings. One of the new signings, Sven Sprangler, has got international clearance this morning, and the 28-year-old Austrian midfielder will start and will make his debut as one of 6 changes from the side defeated at home by Rangers last week. Liam Gordon, he's still not fit after the concussion with that horrible clash of heads with Danilo. Chris Kane's failed a fitness test as well, and Smith, Costello, Olafunwa and Kusharai all dropped to the bench. So St Johnstone go Dimitar Mitov in goal. At the back, James Brown, Sam McClelland, Andy Considine and Luke Robinson. Just in front is the skipper Dan Phillips, then Bray Wright, Cammy McPherson, Sven Sprangler and Graham Carey, and up top Stevie May, who scored the winner here for St Johnstone last season in a 2-1 success. On the bench, Richards, Gallagher and Kusharai. Jeff got Olafunwa and Smith, Turner, Cook, Costello and Franzak. The referee is Kevin Clancy. The VAR is Matthew McDermott.
Yeah, maybe a sign of the changes that are going to come under Nick Montgomery, Kenny, that Yair Tavares, who was way out the picture under Lee Johnson, hasn't started a game for 13 months, is now all of a sudden in the starting lineup. Clearly Nick Montgomery trying to put his stamp on things early.
Well, that's what happens when a new manager comes in. It's again, it's the generic statement that everybody's got a clean slate. Clearly Nick Montgomery feels he's seen something in Jair Tavares in training over the last kind of week or so that he deserves a starting slot and he can bring something to this team, because it's really important. I mean, I think Roger was talking about how big a week it could be for Hibs, but again, the flip side is as well that you don't win today at home to the team that are bottom of the league, and you threw away a 2-goal lead in your first game. You then don't win at home to the bottom of the league in the second game, and all of a sudden you start to chasing a little bit momentum, because Hibs have not started the season well. So it's really important that he gets a good win, and he feels that Tavares can play a big part in that moving forward.
Roger was telling us the sort of favourable run of fixtures that Nick Montgomery has coming up. I suppose you can kind of spin it two ways, because if he goes in and wins all 3 or gets 2 wins and a draw, then Hibs fans will be looking very happily at what he's doing. But those are also the types of games that as a new manager you can't really be losing.
Oh no. But he's fortunate he starts today, I think, against a very poor St Johnstone side who are further hampered by injury. They're bottom of the table for a reason. They don't defend well. The only time they defended well was at Celtic Park when it was a 0-0 draw. I think it's as good a start as Nick Montgomery could have asked for in terms of Easter Road. So he'll, and one thing tends to lead to another. If he gets a good start today, it will carry momentum on into the midweek game.
And last but not least, at the Smiza Stadium, St Mirren against Hearts' Fraser Wisher. A good win for Hearts last weekend, but Stephen Robinson probably rightly saying that they don't fear anyone at the moment.
Yeah, certainly not least in my eyes, Andrew, when you messaged me at the start of the week to say I was going to this game. I've been looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. Sitting on social media saying this morning the very few tickets left, so pretty much a sellout, and Hearts filling that end to the right hand side here as we sit. So it's going to be a great atmosphere, and I think a really, really good game. And you're right, Stephen Robinson, I don't think they fear anyone at the moment. They were unbeaten in 9 games. They had such a terrific year last season as well, and they sit in second place, so they've got no real reason to fear. And I think there's a sense of optimism around the St Mirren supporters looking forward to every single game. They'll have to play better than they did last week. They got that victory, I was there, but they weren't great. Stephen Robinson admitted they weren't at their best, which is manager speak for saying they were really, really poor, but they did have excellent performances from the back 3, and it was left wing back Scott Tanzer that got the winning goal. But from a Hearts perspective, as you said there, a really good victory. Just first signs for the Hearts supporters that are maybe beginning to find their form. To be fair, they have been hit by a lot of injuries when you think of Craig Gordon and Halkett and people like that have been out for a long time. But Liam Boyce, I think his return has been an absolute key to Hearts' form in the last couple of weeks. His partnership with Lon Shanklin showing good signs. Both clever players. Boyce got the second goal last week. Beningame also starts today as well, so we're looking forward to this one. Both sides big and strong physically, like to get balls in the box. You might see a few VAR interventions to help Nick Walsh here, but Hearts have been successful in the last couple of seasons coming here. They've not been beaten in the last 4 visits, so I'm really looking forward to this one. That could go either way. I do think there'll be plenty of goals, although not as many as a young lad who was interviewed outside the park to read out the teams. He was asked by the announcer, this lad's about 10 years old, what will the score be? He said 11-0. I don't think it'll be that, but I do fancy 2 or 3 goals here today.
I told you, the St Mirren fans are optimistic at the moment. The kick-offs in those 3 o'clock games coming up next.
And now a word from our podcast sponsor, Lookers Motor Group. They've got Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms across Glasgow and the West, so you can find the new or used approved car that's right for you. The Land Rover showrooms can be found in Motherwell, Darnley and the north of Glasgow, with their Jaguar and Volvo showroom found in Hillington. And right now at lookers.co.uk you can browse and shop 24/7, value your part exchange, order and take delivery from the comfort of your own home. Every approved used Jaguar, Land Rover or Volvo comes with a minimum of 12 months warranty, roadside assistance, MOT test warranty, an independent mileage and service history check, software updates and lots more. Check out lookers.co.uk to get your new or used approved Land Rover, Jaguar or Volvo today. Now back to the podcast.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Just moments away from the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Celtic, the early winners, 3-0 over Livingston. And then we've got Hibs against St Johnstone, Dundee against Kilmarnock, and St Mirren against Hearts. What game stands out to you there, Hugh? What's the game of the afternoon for you?
Well, you'd look at St Mirren Hearts, wouldn't you? St Mirren second top of the table. Hearts off the back of a good result against Aberdeen last weekend. And Fraser describing a ground in Paisley that's all but full, which is a terrific thing to see. I think that is the outstanding game, although at Hibs and St Johnstone you've got Nick Montgomery, and I'd love to have heard the rendition of Sunshine on Leaf before the game started there. Dundee and Kilmarnock brings together old friends, but will not be a friendly contest.
Go along with that, Kenny. St Mirren Hearts, best one this afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. I think Hearts have arguably got the best squad out with the Old Firm. St Mirren have had a wonderful season last season, getting into the top 6 under Stephen Robinson, and have started the season unbeaten at this moment and sitting second in the table. So they've got it all to play for to kind of maintain that. Hearts, I've got an opportunity to climb themselves back into the top 3, top 4 after what's been not a great start to the season, but that was a big result last week for Stephen Naismith. So it's got the makings of an outstanding game. I mean, I just still make Hearts favourites when I look at their squad and you look at that lineup, the quality they've got on that pitch and on the bench. I think they're a really, really strong squad, and I think come the end of the season they'll be up there fighting for that 3rd and 4th spot.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. From prescription deliveries to health vaccines and everything in between.
Yes, underway in the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Lots to look forward to, and it's time for you three to give me your terrible predictions for these games. On you go.
I am taking Kilmarnock to win at Dens Park. I'm taking Hibs to beat St Johnstone, and I'm going for second top St Mirren to beat Hearts.
Kenny?
I've went for a draw at Dens, 1-1. I've went for Hibs to win 2-0 against St Johnstone, and I think Hearts will just edge it 2-1 in Paisley.
Goal scorers?
Well, if you want me to go for that as well, I can give you that. I've got it down.
I'm going home win Dundee, home win Hibs, and I'm going home win St Mirren.
3 home wins.
Well, that's the way you work it out.
Fair enough. Yep. Okay, don't mind those at all. Remember, we will be with you until 6 o'clock, bringing you all the action from the games across the divisions as well. Some exciting ones in the Championship and League 1 and League 2, so make sure to stick with us. And then of course at 5 o'clock it's your opportunity to let us know what you think of the action, what you've seen today, maybe what you make of things tomorrow as well. 2 big games, Rangers at home to Motherwell and Aberdeen against Ross County. So a busy weekend, Hugh.
Yeah, Celtic have kicked it off in style. No one saw all of that coming. No one saw Celtic a goal up and cruising, and then losing their goalkeeper Joe Hart to a red card, and all of a sudden being under the cosh. And before Livingston could do anything about it, Matt O'Reilly scores to make it 2-0 at the start of the second half, and the goal from Maeda has to be seen to be believed. It's fantastic. So Celtic have kicked things off with drama. Livingston have had a poor afternoon, but nothing can be taken away from Celtic's performance. They're 7 points clear of Rangers, and that sets up Ibrox tomorrow. and then some.
Right, before we get any early action, how about we do this, Hugh?
The first half teaser.
With the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Since 2012, 6 players from outside the UK have scored for Celtic in the Champions League group stage. Name them. Since 2012, half a dozen players from outside the UK have scored for Celtic in the Champions League group stage. Who are they?
Now, since it's Kenny Miller's Saturday debut, I will tell you that you and Gordon Dalziel are working together here, but don't shout out your answers, just write them down, show them to Hugh. He'll let you know whether you've got them right or wrong, because we really want to test those out there listening. At Clyde SSB, make sure to tweet us the answers. You can see the question on the feed as well. It will be tweeted out. If you prefer seeing it in written form, make sure to send your tweet at Clyde SSB with all the answers, and you could be on that podium come the end of the first half.
Great question.
Happy with that one, yeah?
I've got to be honest, and I'm going to be honest today. I didn't really listen. Could you repeat that?
Since
That was a great question.
2012,
A good reminder for the people at home, at least.
since 2012, 6 players from outside the UK have scored for Celtic in the Champions League group stage. Name them.
Okay. Like that question, Kenny?
Aye, yeah. Quite confident in that one, actually.
Are you, Kenny?
Aye.
Good.
Of course, we will have a Who Am I in the second half as well, but get your answers in for that question. You could be on the podium at half time. Remember, it is a race, so you want to be the quickest to tweet all those names at us in one tweet at Clyde SSB. No early goals so far across Scotland at the moment. I was enjoying, Hugh, I was speaking to Stephen Robinson yesterday, and he was talking about coming up against Stephen Naismith. The two of them actually live in the same part of the world, and Stephen Robinson was saying that he actually waves to him in the car sometimes. Stephen Robinson goes up to the Rose Riley Sports Complex to get the free electricity for his car, saying that Stephen Naismith, he was saying he doesn't need to go up for the free electricity, maybe earned a bit more money in his career, but Stephen Robinson happy to admit that he's away up there waving to Stephen Naismith on the way past. So two neighbours up against each other.
They won't be waving to each other today. They'll be at each other's throats the whole day.
You've had any famous neighbours over your time, Hugh? Footballing neighbours?
Yeah. When I lived in Drumchapel, the guy across the road was a promising young player at Celtic. He then went on to have a stellar career. We used to get the bus in the morning. He would get off the bus at Bearsden to be picked up by one of the Lisbon Lions, Jim Craig, and I would go on to my newspaper office when we were young men. You may have heard of him. His name was Danny McGrain.
It's not a bad shout, is it? Can you match that? You had any famous footballing neighbours in your time, Gordon?
Well, it was very unfortunate for him, not myself. When I went to Manchester, right across the road was Bobby Charlton.
Bobby Charlton.
Topped it.
Yeah. I had a great relationship with Bobby. In fact, I used to watch his dog, and believe it or not, his dog's name was Jackie. Right?
His dog's name was his brother's name.
Yeah, Labrador. When he went away at the weekends, I used to go down the park and everything, throw the ball, and lovely dog. What's its name? I went Jackie Charlton.
You must have had a few bob then if you were living in that kind of neighbourhood.
Yeah, Hale Barnes. I was living there. That's where the rich and famous lived.
Yeah, right.
I'm still not sure that Bobby Charlton would be trusting Gordon Dalziel to look after his dog.
Why
really?
not? Why not? Yeah. Well, I was young at the time.
Even worse, a young Gordon Dalziel.
Yeah, and I did steal a pint of milk once coming in from a late night out. I admit to that, and if Bobby's ever wanting the money, then I'm quite happy. I had a wee night out in Manchester with Curly Watts. Remember Curly Watts?
Yeah.
And Benny from Crossroads?
Yeah.
Norman and Paul, two lovely guys. And I got home a bit late, needed a bit of milk for the Frosties. Sir Bobby was there.
I tell you what, I quite like this. So at home, if you maybe growing up you had a neighbour that you kicked a ball about with that went on to become a famous footballer, maybe at the moment when you're out walking the dog or you're at the shops, you quite regularly see a famous face from football that's a neighbour of yours. I'll tell you, first of all, don't tweet us your address. Don't tweet us where you're from and your address. We don't need to know that level of detail, but we just want to know if you've had any famous footballing neighbours in your time, whether it's growing up, whether it's right now. Send us a tweet at Clyde SSB. I'd quite like to hear them.
Yeah, very interesting.
Kenny, you had any?
None whatsoever.
None at all.
No, none at all.
From all the time that you've moved around, not even a teammate that lived close to you.
Yeah,
or
maybe
famous
teammates.
sports star,
Yeah, maybe
come on.
teammates that have lived close by, but I wouldn't. No neighbours. No,
You must have a famous sports star living.
not at all. No.
No?
No.
You're quite unsociable.
No,
Kenny.
that I keep myself to myself, Gordon.
You know what I mean?
not-
I'm right
yeah.
in there. Where's Bobby living?
Stealing his
Boom.
milk and
I'm buying,
yeah.
I'm buying the house next door.
Maybe that is the difference, that you're just very nosy and just want to
I don't think
chapping
nosy's-
on your neighbours' doors, looking over the fence to see what they're up to.
I like being in beside the how do you do guys. You know, I don't.
The how do you do, guys? Is that a common phrase? Is
Good
it?
morning.
You're not
Bob.
messing with the riffraff then, no?
Yeah, good morning. The ones that don't change their Wi-Fi password.
I'll
and
tell
all
you
that.
what, we've got one of these.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Goal for St Mirren. They are 1-0 up against Hearts, and it is that man who has been fantastic for St Mirren. Ryan Strain gets the goal. He set up the goal last weekend, didn't he, for Scott Tanzer? He's now got the goal this time, a tap in at the back post, and it was Scott Tanzer that set it up. So the wing backs doing their job 2 weekends in a row. Ryan Strain has the goal, and St Mirren 1-0 up against Hearts.
We won't be discussing free electrics for the car on the touchline now. Stephen Naismith, early setback. I can imagine that the St Mirren, the crowd, the whole ground will be rocking, and a big Heart support. So it's going to be quite an afternoon for Fraser Wishart.
Yeah, that's an excellent start, isn't it?
Brilliant start again. It's a good start for my prediction as well, because that's the one goal for St Mirren. Just got to get the two for Hearts now. But no, listen, St Mirren have been flying, you know, and they'll be fully confidence, they'll be fully belief in what they're doing. They're clear in how they're playing. Again, something we were talking about earlier with Livingston. St Mirren know exactly what they're doing. Stephen Robinson's getting a real tune out of his players at this moment in time.
He's brought an excitement back, hasn't he, to Paisley? There's no doubt about that. You know, he's playing good football, scoring goals, not lost a game yet, got off to a great start today. Look, there's still a lot of football to be played. Hearts have got quality players that can score goals at any moment in time, but what a terrific start. And I'm delighted, because St Mirren's a very, very good club, and you know, if you can get that club going with the support, and it's got a lovely training ground as well, but this man's went in so far and worked wonders.
4-4, 1-0 up against Stranraer. Ryan Patterson with a goal on 9 minutes, and a good start for Cove Rangers as well. 1-0 up. Rumarn Burrell scoring for them. And Dunfermline as well have an early goal. They're ahead in the opening 10 minutes. Morton, they are 1-0 up against Craig Whiten, scoring the goal in that game. So good bit of early action here.
Yeah. We look forward to more of it. My eye falls on Easter Road. You know, you'd like to see Nick Montgomery fire up the crowd there. Obviously, it's a more tense occasion at Dens Park with Tony Docherty for Dundee and Derek McInnes for Kilmarnock. But Paisley's the place to be, I can't help but feel.
Yeah, I tell you what, people are already tweeting us with their famous neighbour stories. I like this. This. We're hearing quite a few of them.
Am I there?
Here is, to be fair, if we have someone tweet in saying that Gordon Dalziel was their neighbour, I do not want to know any of the stories they have about Gordon Dalziel. Don't want to know what noises you were hearing through the wall. I don't want to know what he was getting up to at whatever time in the morning. No, thank you.
Move swiftly on.
Yes, let's hear your famous ones. We've had a tweet from WWE boy Coop Dog, who says, I had Bertie Auld live round the corner from me. He used to frequent our local co-op where my best mate worked, and would have a wee gab with the two of us. Ross Burnett says that Craig Halkett used to live through the door from him when he was growing up. They were best friends growing up. His parents still say stay through the wall from him. And John has tweeted in saying he used to live beside Bomber Brown.
Oh, the bomber.
He says there was no antisocial behaviour going on in our area. So there you go.
Some
I
good
quite like
ones
that.
so
So
far.
get your tweets in.
Is
I like that.
anybody ousting Bobby Charlton? Come on, guys.
Oh, Danny McGrain.
Danny McGrain's a good one as well.
Okay, Danny McGrain, Scotland, Bobby Charlton, England. There you go. We take in foreigners as well, MD, overseas.
I think someone has actually tweeted saying that they're a neighbour of you, Hugh, or were a neighbour of you. I'm just reading through this just to make sure that it's not some sort of joke. By the way, Arbroath are 1-0 up against Partick Thistle. Jermaine Hilton, who scored last week against Airdrie, has another goal.
Right, tweeting in about Hugh. Can you read the question out again? Has anyone lived next to a famous sports person? You can't have you.
Well, I think you've added sports person. I said a famous footballing face.
Well, you're not a footballing face. You've never played football.
Footballing voice, then. No?
Sorry, Hugh, but I just have to make sure it's the right.
There's a technicality there in the question.
Exactly.
Yep.
Famous journalist.
Who was
famous
this person
man
anyway? Any clues?
Your wife.
Joe Poe. I asked someone coming out of Nice Flats where insert street name here was, and he said, "You're on it." I said, "Is this it up to there?" And he said, "Of course it is," like I was an idiot. It was Hugh Keevins. Not only is he abrupt on Super Scoreboard, but in real life as well. And then they've replied to themselves saying, "Easily the most rude man I've asked directions for in my life." Yeah, do you remember this interaction, Hugh?
No, I remember Lorraine McIntosh, the singer with Deacon Blue, stopping me in the street and asking for street directions, and I was so taken aback by famous lady from famous band that I sent her the wrong way.
Gordon, I'm going to show you a photo right now.
Yeah.
Is that the dog? No,
that's not Jackie.
No, is that not the dog in question?
No.
Oh, to be fair, the photo that Roger Hanna has sent in, Bobby Charlton is significantly older than he would have been when you were his neighbour.
If Jackie's still about, geez, the dog was
that will have been the oldest dog in the world. That is.
Yeah. But it's great to see that, he's got a wee dog there if he ever needs it.
Must be an interesting game between Hibs and St Johnstone if Roger's looking at photos of Bobby Charlton's dogs there.
Tell you what, Bobby's looking well. I'll need to give him a call.
I don't think that's getting answered, I'll be honest.
What? My call?
Your call.
Bobby and I used to speak frequently. Really good friend of mine. I've got to say, a very nice guy.
Since you last ran, have you spoken to Bobby Charlton?
Once.
Once? When was that?
I met him in Manchester. I was down about 5 years ago, and I met Bobby and had a nice chat, cup of tea, blether. Spoke about the old days, out the back, over the fence. All right, Daz, how's your morning?
Over the fence.
How's your morning doing?
If we didn't have this reputation for being a total stranger to the truth, we might be listening more intently to this.
I couldn't make that up, Hugh. It's just, but a good neighbour, always looked out for the house.
Clyde 1-0 up against Elgin City. Martin Rennie with the goal, and Hamilton, who are doing well in League One, they're 1-0 up away to Marvin Bartley's Queen of the South, Ewan Henderson with a goal.
I've never had a clean sheet. Right, he honestly, every time I'm in here, Queen of South lose the first goal.
Just high scoring. He likes a high scoring game,
he's
Marvin.
Entertaining, the big guy. I'll tell you what, he'd be better getting on. What was it Mark Wilson called him? A dodge him.
That's his new nickname, isn't it? After the Masters.
That was
Marvin Bartley to dodge
brilliant.
him, just running about, bashing into folk. A poor miss by Kyle Vassell. Side foots it wide from 12 yards after a cross from Danny Armstrong. But there's a chance for Kilmarnock at Dens Park.
Not really a good finisher too, Kyle Vassell, but suggests that Kilmarnock are on the front foot.
Queen of the South have now conceded 12 goals this season. Only Edinburgh City have conceded more in League One. But they are still, as it stands, table, they are still fifth. So they're scoring goals as well.
Big Marvin's a defensive coach down there as well. He's been working very hard in the shadow.
Yes, so
but they'll score, guaranteed they'll score. I tell you what, you've got to be fair to Hamilton Accies. In form, they've been absolutely
flying this year. Flying.
Some of the recruitment and their youth academy paying off. What is it? Four young boys away down south, getting plenty of money in for them. They've done brilliantly this year now.
Right, this is now getting creepy. See the story of you being rude to this person in question, Hugh?
It's true.
They've now tweeted me a photo of you walking down the street. Come round to this side of the desk and have a look at this photo of you walking down the street.
Is that you, Hugh?
It's 100% Hugh. It's 100% Hugh Keevins. There's some substance to this story, right, all of a sudden.
Why is someone taking a photo of you walking down the street?
Under 24 hours surveillance.
I wouldn't advise taking photos of people when they're out in public, unless you've asked them for a selfie and they've said okay. But Yeah, there is a photo of you. You do look as if you're storming down the street there, Hugh.
I mean, I dispute this. Kenny Miller will vouch for the fact that I'm a very friendly man.
Absolutely, yeah. On a Friday night, anyway, on the radio.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Well, Kilmarnock had a big chance against Dundee. However, it's Dundee that have taken the lead. Dundee 1, Kilmarnock 0, and it's Bakayoko who's had a good start to life in the Scottish Premiership. He's got himself a goal. He was unmarked at the back post after Beckett swung in the corner, and it is 1-0 to Dundee.
Yeah, they were okay at Celtic Park last weekend. 0-0 at half time there, and they were doing away quite nicely. But then when they conceded the penalty, they fell apart. But that's a good start. 16 minutes in when that goal scored, so plenty of time for Kilmarnock to hit back.
Well, Hearts midfield is looking a bit bare at the moment because in separate incidents, Nieuwenhof and Devlin have both been cut, so they're now having to get treatment off the pitch. So Hearts are down to 9 men at the moment while both players get treatment. We'll see if St Mirren can take advantage of that. But both players just getting a bit of treatment.
Is the Wig on the bench today?
Nope.
No?
No, not on the bench.
I'm assuming that's Halliday you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's not. He's not on the bench. I did check that earlier.
He was injured last week, wasn't he? Was it last week? So must not have recovered yet. He's injured. Yep.
See, I don't know how he took it when I says to him that Monday I was doing the show with him, why were you not playing the Masters? You used to play with Hearts. And he gave me a strange look. I don't know.
Have you been on with him since? No, have you?
No.
Maybe he's requested.
I love Andy. He's a
not.
lovely guy. Hope he's listening.
Helen Mooney says she used to, or she grew up living down the road from one of your good friends, Billy Davies.
Oh, that'd be Pollock around about that area, would it? I think Billy, that's where he grew up.
There we go. Getting a lot of
tweets
on that.
Drumchapel had a lot of good players come out at Hugh.
Yeah, Alec Miller, Danny McGrew.
No, a good player's shoe come out at.
Trying to think who else. Billy Conley was there. Not a player, but Billy Conley was there.
Some famous faces then, that's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Hugh, you're getting a lot of mentions here. Alan Boyd says, not a neighbour, but I used to be in Hugh Keevins' house every other Wednesday playing pool.
Do you have a pool table?
No, it was in the garage.
All right.
He did have a pool table. He just wasn't in the house.
And if memory serves, Alan went to school with my son.
There we go. Making some connections here. Big D lived next to Andy Gorham in Coatbridge. Says he always used to have a chat with him when he met him on the street.
The goalie.
There we go. Clyde 2-0 up against Elgin City. Alex King with a goal 20 minutes in, and Edinburgh City have equalised against Cove Rangers. Danny Handling scoring for them. A goal for Jordan Rhodes at Blackpool as well, former Scotland international. Don't hear his name too often these days, but he scored a penalty.
Scored a couple actually this season. We had him at Huddersfield last season, working down there with Matt following him. So he's got us a really couple of important goals for us last year and won. So it's good to see him still banging them in.
And there's Altrincham winning 2-0 at home. Do you know why I mentioned that? That's where I used to take Bobby's dog a walk, Jackie. And
in Altrincham,
yeah.
Is that right?
Huh?
There you go. Spartans 1-0 up against East Fife. Rhys Armstrong, the scorer of that goal. Plenty of goals going on around the divisions. We have had a couple in the top flight as well. St Mirren 1-0 up against Hearts, and Dundee 1-0 up against Kilmarnock. Nieuwenhof is back on after a cut on the chin, and Cammy Devlin has got a bandage around his head. I don't think there was ever any doubt that Cammy Devlin was going to continue on. He is a bit of a battler, isn't he, in midfield for Hearts. Right, how are you two getting on with this teaser? Are they doing okay, Hugh?
Kenny showed me 5 choices, and 4 of his choices are correct. One is incorrect.
We're back up, Hugh. I've just produced.
Now there we've got 5.
1 to go.
There we go, 1 to go. We'll see how people out there are doing. Of course, we'll read out the podium at half time. Do you want to read out the question again, Hugh, just so people at home can get it?
Since 2012, 6 players from outside the UK have scored for Celtic in the Champions League group stage. So since 2012, half a dozen players from outside the UK have scored for Celtic in the Champions League group stage. Who are they?
Remember and get your answers in at Clyde SSB, all in one tweet. We want to hear from you. Fraser Clark has an issue with you because apparently you always use the word brilliant. You use it too much, apparently. Why does Daz always say brilliant when he's praising teams and players? He always says brilliant. That's the only word in his vocabulary.
Well, I think that is brilliant, to use the word brilliant.
Actually, he's more rude than that. He says, is that the only word in his vocabulary? It wouldn't surprise me.
Who is it?
Hey, where do you live?
Yeah. Thank you, Fraser. That was a brilliant tweet. I'm just going to keep saying that now.
He's going to end up turning off in a second, I think, if you keep on saying it. But there we go, a good start for St Mirren against Hearts. That goal from Ryan Strain. Bakayoko has Dundee ahead. Nick Montgomery's Hibs still goalless with St Johnstone. It's a big game for Nick Montgomery because St Johnstone haven't impressed so far this campaign. Yes, they got that draw away at Celtic Park, but we were in the studio last weekend, watched them against Rangers. They really didn't offer a whole lot, did they? 6 changes today as well for Stephen Mclean.
Well, this is the first impression at home. We know that he had a 2-goal lead last week and then ended up a 2-2 draw, but you've got to make a good impression in front of your home fans. And he talks a good game, he looks the part. Now he's got to be the part.
See, what's interesting there, I picked up on, St Johnstone made 6 changes, yeah? Mm-hmm. Steve McLean came out after the Rangers game last week and was very confident and praised his players and said how going forward that he was confident they were going to pick up points and kick on. And he goes to Easter Road today and makes 6 changes. So he obviously didn't have enough confidence in the players that played against Rangers.
And a sitter for St Mirren. It's Olasanya. It was a Kiltie shot that was cleared off the line by Rolls. Olasanya miskicked it from all of a yard out, and Clark managed to gather.
Big miss. That could have probably put Hearts really under the cosh now. But it shows you they're creating chances. Play good football, St Mirren. Decent side. It'll be interesting to see if Hearts can get back into this. But if St Mirren score a game, I can't see any way back for them.
No, it'll be a long way back if St Mirren go 2-0, that's for sure, particularly when they're in a good form. But again, you can't help but look at that Hearts team and think there's goals in it. When you think boys coming back, Shanklin, there's always a goal in Shanklin. There's such a Vargas, there's such a, for me, I said they've got the best squad outside the Old Firm, and I think there's a lot of attacking talent within it, both in the starting lineup and on the bench. So but it seems like St Mirren are on top at this moment in time.
We're getting more famous footballing neighbours coming in as well. Kevin says that he used to live round the corner from former Falkirk player Mark Kerr. His wife taught his daughter at primary school. Says he was always tempted to tell him that he cost him a Champions League trophy in Championship Manager 2001-2002, because there was a weird quirk where Mark Kerr was one of the players in the game that had great potential, and people would buy him young. He would become one of the best players in the game. And Kevin not happy that he cost him a Champions League trophy.
I've just remembered when we lived in Clydebank, the McGinn family lived at the bottom of our street. Paul, Stephen, John.
It's not bad, is it?
And their mother taught my children at school. There you are.
What's the distance here we're giving out? You can't be round the corner. Is it same postcode now? I'm talking, you're shouting out your front door, Bobby shouting back.
Because we've got a few. I mean, Stephen Docherty says used to stay near Jimmy Johnson. We would always see him after school running around the football pitch. I don't mind that.
Hang fire. It was in it. Do you see them walking about? Do you go to the shop? So it doesn't have to be like
if you see them regularly around where you live, you must be a neighbour to some extent, surely.
Not at all.
No, not having it. That's just because Bobby Charlton used to live right next door to you. You're just trying to hold this in a pedestal. That's a good point, actually.
I go, well, you can check it. I go, I'll give you my address. I go, I'll walk at night and I go the same route. So the people that maybe 15 minutes into my journey I see most nights, are they my neighbours? I don't think so. Am I stealing their milk? No, I'm not. Am I taking their dog for a walk? No, I'm not.
It's maybe more telling that none of those people that see Gordon Dalziel out his walk have tweeted us to say that they see Gordon Dalziel, that he's not a famous footballing neighbour. Not had any shouts for you, Gordon.
I've never been famous in my life.
When he shouted over to Bobby Charlton, what Bobby Charlton was shouting back was, what did he say?
No, he went, no problem, Daz, don't worry about the milk. Plenty more where that came from.
What's that, around half an hour gone in today's matches, and Kenny and Gordon working hard on this teaser as well. Do you think you've got them all?
Yeah, we've got them. Kenny and I have just
we'll get the answers
simultaneously come up with the same answer.
How are they getting on, Hugh?
Oh, it's just it.
They've cracked it.
Oh, in the back of the net.
Good effort. Make sure to tweet us at Clyde SSB. You can see that in written form as well, the first half teaser on our Twitter feed, and then you can tweet us in. I think we had quite a few correct answers so far as well.
Brilliant
People doing
work
quite
for you
well
there, Gordon. Brilliant work.
It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
He's surprisingly not bad at these teasers. Yeah.
Well, once I know the question, it really helps. To kick
Once you
forth.
start listening
Oh, there
to
he
what
is,
people
he's
say,
back, Hugh.
there you go. The comeback is on. Well, I say the comeback is on. It's technically complete. They were only one goal down. Queen of the South 1, Hamilton 1. Harry Cochrane with the goal for Marvin Bartley's side, and they are back on level terms against Hamilton.
Back to being the Palmerston Pep.
Never does it the easy way.
No,
does he?
No, Gordon's right. They always concede the first goal. I don't know what he says in the dressing room before they go out, but they're not listening to it.
Well, I'll tell you, he does come back a lot and win games as well. I did see that at the start of the season, 2 or 3 weeks in a row they were coming back. So they're scoring goals, they're just not keeping them out.
Yeah, always high scoring games when Queen of the South are involved. Still nothing between Hibs and St Johnstone. Do you think that there's not been too many real updates from Roger Hannah either? There were 2 chances for Adam Lafondra. One of those was a shot wide. There was a header that was pushed out by Mitov as well. Adam Lafondra has been an interesting signing as well, because he's been prolific throughout his whole career, really, and he's already got off to a good start for Hibs, scoring a few goals.
He has. He's always been again, like Kyogo, he's one of these guys that his movement is really, really good in and around the box. We came up against him in Australia when he was out there for Sydney, and he would just score goals for fun out there as well. So he's not been like a fixture in that Hibs team at the start of his career, but there's one thing for sure: anytime he's playing, he's got a goal in him, and like you say, he's got off to a decent start at the early stage of his Hibs career. So it'll be no surprise if he was to find himself on the score sheet today.
VAR review with M&D Green Pharmacy.
The referee is going to the screen at Dens Park for a possible Kilmarnock penalty. And you know what happens when they go to the screen? What tends to happen?
They award the penalty.
Tends to get given. So I'm not sure whether it was part of the same incident. There was a Lions header that was well saved by Carson following a corner, so I don't know whether it was in that incident, but the referee at Dens Park has certainly gone to the screen. Dave Galloway will keep us updated on whether that is a penalty, but that could be a good way back into the game for Derek McInnes' side.
Yeah, they'd take anything as Dunfermline take a 2-goal lead over Morton. Lewis McCann scoring the
Struggling
goal.
a little bit, Morton, after a great season last year.
They played Rangers in the Cup, and they really ran Rangers close, but it's
penalty to Kilmarnock. It has been given, and it will be.
He takes it. My ball.
Armstrong.
Armstrong, if he's playing, normally.
Well, we will see. Dave Galloway will keep us updated, but a good chance for Derek McInnes' side to get back on level terms against Tony Docherty. Two men that know each other inside out. Spent so many years together as manager and assistant. Tony Docherty now. I mean, Derek McInnes was saying the other day, it is Armstrong that is stepping up. Missed his last one against Ross County, but will he score this time? He's been such a key player for Kilmarnock, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Since he came in, he's that real creative outlet for them.
Good left foot. I fancy him to score.
What are we saying? Predictions? This one going in?
Goal for me, yep.
Yeah.
I've already wrote his name under Kilmarnock for a goal score, so yep, there it's there.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
No problem from the spot for Danny Armstrong. The keeper dived the right way, but it didn't matter. Danny Armstrong still managed to slot it by him, and they are level against Dundee at Dens Park.
And Easter Road is now the only place in the Premiership not to have provided a goal so far today.
Well, it was already that way because Dundee were 1-0 up.
Yeah.
Well, nothing's changed because of that goal.
Yeah, but that doesn't alter.
Oh, right, okay. I thought you were meaning that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just it seemed as if you were. It seemed as if you were saying it just because that goal had gone in. But yes, Danny Armstrong has scored the goal, and yeah, that'll give Kilmarnock, who started the season off very well, of course, had those victories over Celtic and Rangers. Maybe hasn't quite gone their way over the past few weeks, but an away win over Dundee, if they can manage it today, would get things back on track.
It would do, and I think if they can go on and win the game, but the same goes for Dundee actually. If there's a winner in that game today, I think it'll look a really decent start. Obviously coming up last year, just kind of managed to stay away out of that playoff in the relegation spot last year, and I think the same will apply to Dundee this year. That's what they'll be wanting to do. That'll be their immediate goal, is to stay in the league and stay away from those bottom two places. So if they can win, or if Kilmarnock can win, I think it'll be a positive start for either.
Couple of chances to tell you about. Cammy McPherson inches wide from 20 yards for St Johnstone against Hibs. Dan Phillips flashing a shot over as well. Saints coming into this game, and a goal disallowed for St Mirren. Kilty scored from a loose ball after a corner, but it was disallowed for a high boot by Richard Taylor.
We're simply not hearing anything about Hearts in a goal scoring scenario, and it seems to be all St Mirren, and they are the real danger to Xander Clark. So
I mean, it shouldn't really be a shock, just given
how
well St Mirren have played, not just this season but over the past year and a bit under Stephen Robinson, certainly since the start of last season.
No, they are second top, but I'm surprised. I thought Hearts off the back of the Aberdeen game would be flying, but clearly have yet to take off.
Yeah, it has been a strange start to the season for Hearts. I mean, not even had a shot on goal, says Fraser Wishart, who's reporting from there. That I don't know whether people will maybe point to the Stephen Naismith, Frankie McAvoy factor, but certainly in house it seemed as if everyone was well aware of what the situation was.
But you can't
just
keep looking at that. Kenny's right. They've got the third best squad probably in the league. You thought that right, okay, turning off the corner last weekend against Aberdeen at home, that was a pressure game for them. They won that, and they won that comfortably. And you're thinking, right, they go with a bit of confidence to St Mirren, but all credit to St Mirren. They're second in the league for a reason. They've been absolutely brilliant. Great start to the season so far. There's still a bit of football to be played. If Hearts can get the goal, momentum changes very quickly in football, so it'll be interesting to see how that game develops.
That's it, when you've got Lawrence Shankland on the pitch as well, you've always got a good chance of getting a goal.
Absolutely. I mean, it was 28 goals he got last year. He's already off to a decent goal scoring start this year, and I'd throw Liam Boyce into that as well. Like, he's a wonderful player. Obviously they missed him last year through long-term injuries, but with those two at the top, very, very, I think they're actually quite similar strikers that very well rounded. They can link the game. I think they can run beyond. They're both a goal threat. I would say, to be fair, Shankland's obviously got more of a goal scoring record, I would say, but as a partnership and two guys at the top end of your pitch, there might not be many better outside of the Old Firm.
This isn't even a neighbour one, but Dubley, this is just basically people just outing the pundits as rude, apparently, because Dubley says, I saw Mark Wilson in Tesco Cumbernauld a while back, said hello and he blanked me.
Oh, he is rude. I've been out. Listen, I will back that up. He's a rude individual.
Confirmed. That's been confirmed.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. That one's just fact now.
That is fact.
There's
no messing about with that one. Very rude. Thinks he's better than what he is.
You quite happy then that Kenny's in for him today?
Yeah, it's nice to have a fresh face and someone that knows the game for a change. Whereas Redface will be lying over in Dubai the now with a cocktail in his hand, probably enjoying himself. But lovely to see Kenny here this afternoon.
Well, how quickly can things change? Because Dundee were 1-0 up, looking good. They concede a penalty, and now Josh Mulligan sent off. Straight red card for a challenge on Armstrong. Apparently he reacted with disbelief when the red card came out, so we will see if VAR take a look at it. But as it stands, Dundee went from being 1-0 up to level and a man down.
It sounds like the progress of the game at Livingston today, where you never knew what was going to happen next. Celtic up because of a deserved penalty, then down when the goalkeeper was sent off, then up again when Matt O'Reilly made it 2-0, and finished on the highest note possible with a stunning goal from Daizen Maeda.
Yeah, Dave Galloway saying that he thinks he caught Armstrong just above the ankle. One of those where tend to see a red card given for them.
Well, are they checking it?
No sign of it yet, but we will see. They will take a look at it, because they do look at every single red card incident. It's just whether it turns into an official check or not. However,
VAR review with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Referee's going to the screen.
Overturned.
Yellow card then.
So it looks as if that one could well be overturned, and that is going to be an example of, if it does happen, VAR doing its job in that game, because Kilmarnock weren't initially given a penalty. It was given after going to the screen, and now the referee going to the screen again for a separate incident.
Well, you think, having sent the player off, the referee would go to the monitor and then say, no, I was right.
Well, it just depends on the individual incident. However, before we get to that,
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Nick Montgomery's going to be happy. Hibs 1, St Johnstone 0. Lewis Miller with the header at the back post, and it is a good start to life at Easter Road.
And one of the promising young men gets the goal, which is another boost to you. Can see no way back for St Johnstone even now.
Without seeing one frame of a game.
He just goes so early, this man. Listen, I can't disagree with him. I've seen nothing.
Well, I tell you what, the referee has gone to the screen
again
and stood by his decision.
There you are.
Josh Mulligan is off. So it was recommended by the VAR that the
That must
referee
be a
go to
first.
the screen. However, it's happened a couple of times, hasn't it, in Scotland since VAR was introduced, but it is very, very rare. But you know, referees are praised sometimes for standing by their decision. However, we will of course need to see the incident before we can comment fully on it.
It would cast a doubt over VAR in general if every time a referee went to the monitor he changed his mind. You know, there has to be an occasion when you go, you look and you say, no, I was right.
I'll tell you what, that's a big game up there at Dens, because if results go right for either team, they're in the top 6 by Sunday night. You know, because you look at the leapfrog Livingston, Ross County are at home to Aberdeen, away to Aberdeen tomorrow, and Hearts are 1-0 down already at St Mirren. So 3 points would be really valuable at Dens Park this afternoon.
Listen, that's what we said. That's what I said 2-3 minutes ago. I think for either team to win, it turns, which is again an okay start after 5 games. I think in a really, really good start after 6 games. So massive game. That's what I've got it done as a draw, because both of them will just stay.
It's not going to be a draw now.
We almost glossed over that Hibs goal just because there was the red card incident afterwards for Dundee, but that is really what Nick Montgomery will have needed. His side going ahead at home at Easter Road, that really helps get the crowd on side, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially after they would have been disappointed leaving Rugby Park last week. I watched the game, and the goals were poor that they conceded, but all credit to Kilmarnock. So first home game, there'll be a big crowd there, of that there's no doubt. Terrific start. I like the way this lad speaks, I really do. I think he comes across well. He's prepared to give guys that have been out of favour a chance there. He's bringing people into the team, changing one or two things around. But I look at St Johnstone, they need something to happen very quickly for them.
Well, it's not going right for Chris Doolan today. Partick Thistle 0, Arbroath 2. Thomas O'Brien with the goal, and that is a good lead for Arbroath.
They've been moving quite nicely too,
yeah,
the Jags, but
Arbroath have as well.
Dick Campbell, I love Dick Campbell, love to hear him shouting and bawling, ranting and raving. Never forget being at the table next to his at the awards dinner, Fraser Wishart's peerless awards dinner.
Oh, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was good. That made my year.
They gave it to Ange Postecoglou.
And I'll tell you what, I think it took 3 cleaners to sweep up the sick. I've never seen him disputing so much as Big Dick. It was unbelievable that night. What a job he had done that year as well.
I know.
Ange Postecoglou just pipped him.
He got up and he was walking about in sheer anger and frustration.
He ripped up his speech and everything. I couldn't believe it.
Dick, you don't need anyone to tell you how good a season you've had.
And that's the season that almost went up.
That's the
and that might be the key word. Almost.
Yeah, but listen, look what he's working under, and his start of this season was dreadful. He's winning every game now. He's just turned it around. He's in the top 4.
I couldn't tell you what his reply was to me that night, because Ange Postecoglou's lawyers may be listening.
That was good. That was good.
Well, remember, we are looking for your famous footballing neighbours of past and present, whether it was someone you grew up on the same street as, whether it's someone you see out walking the dog. Remember, don't tweet us your actual address. We just want to know the stories. That's all we want. Jimmy Grimble has tweeted us saying that he lived on the next street to Jim Leighton and Billy Thompson, two great keepers, a stone's throw from each other. They both took turns to beat the goalie at our local summer fete. Not sure they'd be giving away many prizes at that summer fete.
Well, if you're a gentleman, you move out the way and let a kid score.
Two good goalkeepers. Really good goalkeepers, got to say. How far away? You've got to give mileage now. I'm not having round the corner.
I'm not asking people to go onto maps and look up the exact mileage
I want Google Maps.
But we're not asking for exact addresses either. Let's not bother with that. I'll tell you what, should we wrap up this teaser?
In case there's drama,
Hugh? Okay, let's do that now.
The first half teaser.
With the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
since 2012, 6 players from outside the United Kingdom have scored for Celtic in the Champions League group stage. They are Jota, Georgios Giacomakis, Moussa Dembele, Beram Kayal, Georgios Samaras and Victor Wanyama.
Well done to those at home who got it. Plenty of correct answers. They found that one pretty easy. We'll see how they get on with the Who Am I in the second half. On the podium in third place it was John I. In second place Mark O'Neill, but nobody was quicker than Kieran Tate. In first place, top of the podium, Kenny Miller and Gordon Dalziel worked together to get it as well.
Kenny and I, we had one wrong answer. We went, well, Kenny went Hatate. It's a team. It's a teamwork here.
And did get an own goal, didn't he, against Shakhtar Donetsk, but not a goal on the right end.
I just thought there was somebody down the line, cut back, and he nicked it for a yard. Maybe
I was just being too smart there, I think.
Just too obviously the wrong game.
Remember, we will hear from Brendan Rodgers and David Martindale as well. Gabriel, who was at that match, has been speaking to the two managers, so we'll get some reaction from them probably in the second half of these 3 o'clock kickoffs. But certainly going well for St Mirren, action packed between Dundee and Kilmarnock, and there'll be happy Hibs fans at Easter Road going into half time if it stays the way it is.
Oh yeah, first home game for a manager. He's wanted to set a good example, get that style of football, show the Hibs fans that this is what it's going to be like now with the new manager in. And he's certainly got off to a good start. 2-2 at Kilmarnock when he should have really taken the 3 points, and a good start this afternoon at home to St Johnstone, who are really struggling.
A goal there for Middlesbrough for Riley McGree. Remember that name, heavily linked with Celtic a couple of summers ago.
Turned down Celtic's offer, and the very next day they went out and bought themselves Matt O'Reilly, who is one of the 3 goal scorers today at Livingston. So Riley McGee, here's what you could have won.
Great night out, Middlesbrough, but Hugh.
Oh
yeah, I always go with teams. I would always sign with teams where there was good sort of entertainment. I didn't like to sit in the house all night.
But you lived in Manchester and had your nights out at Middlesbrough.
Oh no, but I've been to Middlesbrough a few nights pre-season with Ayr United, went down that neck of the woods. Terrific. Met Brian Robson and Viv Anderson. Had a couple of shandies with them. Nice people.
If they're not neighbours, we don't want to know.
Well, somebody
seen them out though. You seen them out though, Gordon. That counts, I think.
No, I was with them. I was part of the
part of the party. Yeah, okay.
My sister just texted me there to say that I live next door to, across the street with David Cooper, but I don't count because I'm a football icon. So that doesn't count, does it? Because I can't enter anything in Radio Clyde because I work with Radio Clyde. You know what I mean? Make me a winner. I would love to be shouting that every night, but I can't enter.
I just love the thought of Gordon Dale picking up his phone and just shouting that down the phone to whoever, whenever.
See, at 4 o'clock, MD phones me. Make me a winner, just in case.
Yeah, I don't think there are the same legal issues with this. I think you can tell us that you lived across the road from David Cooper.
Oh, well,
that's fine.
Great late David Cooper lived right across the road from me, my first house. I used to drive him to training every single morning.
Well, the Dundee fans have been chanting "You don't know what you're doing" to referee David Munro.
Thank goodness.
No, not Tony Docherty. Don't worry about that. It was a tackle by Robbie Dees that got a yellow card, but I think the Dundee fans felt that it maybe should have been a similar type of challenge to the one that Josh Mulligan got sent off for, and there is going to be a stretcher called upon for Nathaniel Atkinson, hurt in a tackle with Scott Tanzer, and Toby Sibic will be coming on for him. We must be close to the half-time scores, of course. At half-time round the divisions we are getting them, but in the Premiership we do have those VAR stoppages, so they tend to go on for a wee bit longer.
Well, I was fascinated last weekend. Sheffield United at Tottenham, 12 minutes added on, and it got Ange Postecoglou out of jail. 2 goals in the 12 minutes added on to win the match. Yeah,
because they are doing it differently down in England with the way we saw it at the World Cup, where basically any time wasting and stoppages, they're just adding on time. So you will see that down in the English Premier League, that there will be sort of more added time than you'll see up here. It's not really something that's being utilised up here this season, but of course we do still get some extra stoppages because of VAR. A goal for Liam Lindsay, Scottish central defender. He's had a good start to the season for Preston. Yeah, he was at Partick Thistle. Yep, came through the ranks there. Is by all accounts having a very good time of it at Preston. Not really one you ever hear in with a shout of an international call up, Liam Lindsay.
Well, that might change if Preston stay where they're at the top of that championship, and they were able to get promoted at the end of the season. But again, played against him last year. He had a decent enough season last year, and clearly not just him but the team are absolutely flying this year. So I remember he was getting linked a little bit with a call up a few years ago, but I'm not sure it ever came. So but it's another one I'm sure that Steve Clarke will be fully aware of.
5 minutes added at Dens Park. There's also 4 minutes added as well at the Smythe Stadium, but there will be a bit longer because of that injury to Nathaniel Atkinson. However, there is a half time, and it's between Hibs and St Johnstone. Roger Hannah.
Hibernian 1, St Johnstone 0. It's all going according to plan for the new manager Nick Montgomery, and the man who's come over from Australia has been helped out by the man who beat him over from Australia, right back Lewis Miller, the only goal of the game 10 minutes before the break. St Johnstone actually settled quite well into the game. Graham Carey hitting the outside of the net with a curling free kick in the first minute, but Hibs eventually get into the game. Adam Lafondra, a couple of half chances, drilling wide from 20 yards after a lay-off by strike partner Dylan Venter, and then captain Joe Newell standing up across, which Lafondra headed on target, but it was pushed out by the Saints goalkeeper Dimitar Mitov. Jared Tavares making his first start for Hibs in 13 months, fired over the bar from 20 yards after Miller's cut back in 19 minutes. But St Johnstone came back into the game. Cameron McPherson inches wide with David Marshall flat-footed after 29 minutes, and then just seconds later the Saints skipper Dan Phillips finding himself in the Hibs box but shooting over when he really should have tested Marshall in the Hibs goal. And then just 6 minutes later the breakthrough, St Johnstone paying the price for not taking those chances. An initial set piece cleared out to Martin Boyle. He fed it to the skipper Newell. He dinked a lovely left-footed ball to the back post, and there was right back Miller, who had been up for the initial set piece, heading it back across Mitov and inside the far post to give Montgomery the start he was looking for in his Easter Road debut. Half time here in Leith. Hibs 1, St Johnstone 0.
Yes, a very good start for Hibs and Nick Montgomery at Easter Road. I still maybe think a few minutes away from the half-time whistles at the other 2 3 o'clock kickoffs, because there was of course that injury to Nathaniel Atkinson. I think that he left the field 48 minutes into the first half, so there's probably a few minutes left to go there. And then of course there were those VAR stoppages between Dundee and Kilmarnock, but promising signs certainly. There were promising signs for Hibs and Nick Montgomery last week as well. It did all fall apart, and they ended up drawing 2-2, though another test of their character to see if they can hold on and maybe extend their lead this week.
Precisely, because you don't want to be known as the man who had his first 2 games in charge of the club, was in front and failed to win them. So he's really looking for Hibs to add to their lead and to show that there's a big difference between them and St Johnstone. But even this early in the season, you begin to worry about St Johnstone. They've scored 2 goals since the season started. They've now lost 9 in total. So if you can't score at one end and can't keep them out at the other, and you're bottom of the league, doesn't look great.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as if they've really offered too much in an attacking sense today, and that really was the case last weekend as well.
Yeah,
and that's with 6 changes too.
Yeah, they're struggling. Let's not be kidding. The table shows that. I said earlier, I listened to the St Johnstone manager Steve Mclean come out after the Rangers game. He was very positive, and rightly so. You can't just be negative all the time, especially when you're in that position. but he was sort of saying, yeah, okay, we lost to Rangers Day, we expected that, but we will go forward. I see what's in these players, I know we're going to pick up points. Next game he goes and makes 6 changes, so it tells me he doesn't really see a lot in the starting 11 that played against Rangers.
Well, that's the thing, maybe he just doesn't want to come out and hammer his players, or maybe he thinks it's a very different game that they're facing against Hibs and they faced against Rangers, a different sort of game plan.
I'm all for managers, especially when you're struggling, to be positive. You want to send the right signals out, but you need to start getting results. They're sitting there bottom of the league. I don't know where their next win's coming from, because they have not impressed me at all.
And by the way, because I was actually at that game, and I thought Costello, who played on the left that day, I thought he had a decent day, and he troubled Rangers.
He was good at Celtic Park as well, wasn't he?
Well, yep, he was. I thought Smith looked actually pretty good in the middle of the park, and Kushiravi was the guy who came on and salvaged the draw with 2 goals. He earns a start and then he's right back out the team again. So I definitely surprised. It's like you're making changes for maybe the sake of making changes, and players are no really kind of know whether, like,
you're looking for something to click.
It's a bit of stability, particularly if you were happy with your happy-ish with your performance against a good team that should be beating you. By the way, I just thought when I seen those changes and I heard there was 6 changes and the actual changes that there were, I thought, oh, okay. I actually thought 3 or 4 of those lads performed pretty well against Rangers last week.
Half time at Dens Park, Dave Galloway.
Yeah, it's been a lively, entertaining one here. Dundee 1, Kilmarnock 1. Kyle Vassell missed the game's first big chance. Danny Armstrong picked him out, but the Killie striker could only side foot tamely wide from around 12 yards. They were made to regret that miss when Dundee drew first blood in 16 minutes. Owen Beck swung in the corner and the ball was flicked on by Joe Shaughnessy for Amadou Bakayoko, unmarked, to score at the back post. Killie hit back and Matty Kennedy drove into the box. The ball was cleared for a corner. In it came, and following a VAR check, a penalty was awarded for an apparent handball. Danny Armstrong stepped up. He had missed his previous spot kick, but he made no mistake on this occasion, tucking this one inside the left-hand post to make it 1-1 after 30 minutes. And it got worse for the hosts after Josh Mulligan got a straight red card for a challenge on Danny Armstrong. Ref David Monroe was asked to review the VAR screen, but maintained his original decision. Kilmarnock should have gone 2-1 up in first half injury time. Danny Armstrong slung in a great cross from the right to the back post. Matty Kennedy was in space, but he could only head the ball across the face of goal. Plenty happening here. It's been good stuff. Dundee 1, Kilmarnock 1.
And it's half time as well at the Smiza Stadium. Fraser Wishart.
It is half time here. St Mirren 1, Hearts 0. St Mirren have been excellent in the first 45 minutes from the kick-off. They've been in Hearts' faces, played some really good football and deserved to have scored more than the only goal by right wing-back Ryan Strain early on. Olasanya was first to show. He was clearing behind, but took his time, and there's a poor final ball. When Gogic from the middle of the park for a great switch up to Scott Tanzer. He made good ground in a left-hand side. Low cross was missed by Clark in the Hearts defence. They all stood still, nobody cleared the ball, and Ryan Strain came in at the back post, an open goal and a tap in from 2 yards. A really simple goal. Hearts really struggling to get going early on. A nice move.
I tell you what, that's not a great signal from Fraser Wishart, but we did get the gist of it. St Mirren 1-0 up against Hearts at half time. We'll bring you a bit of analysis from those games next.
The winning team all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Half-time scores in the 3 o'clock kickoffs in Scotland. It's Dundee 1, Kilmarnock 1. Dundee down to 10 men in that one. Hibs 1, St Johnstone 0. St Mirren 1, Hearts 0. And of course in the early kickoff it was Livingston 0, Celtic 3. Into the Championship, it's Airdrieonians 0, Wraith Rovers 0. Dunfermline 2, Morton 0, Inverness 0, Dundee United 0, and Partick Thistle 0. Arbroath 2. In League 1, Annan 0, Alloa 1, Edinburgh City 1, Cove Rangers 1, Montrose 0, Stirling Albion 0. 0, Queen of the South 1, Hamilton 1. There is a later kick-off as well, 5:30, between Kelty Hearts and Falkirk. In League 2, Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Stenhousemuir 0, Clyde 2, Elgin City 0, Dumbarton 0, Peterhead 0, Spartans 1, East Fife 0, Stranraer 0, Forfar 2. And in the English Premier League as well, if that piques your interest, Crystal Palace 0, Fulham 0, Luton 0, Wolves 0, and Manchester City 2, Nottingham Forest 0. We'll get the second halfs up and running next.
The fastest goals, the experts' opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Already underway in the second half between Hibs and St Johnstone. There was some added time between Dundee and Kilmarnock and St Mirren and Hearts, so I think those games will be kicking off shortly. But St Mirren with that lead over Hearts, 1-1 between Dundee and Kilmarnock. Dundee down to 10 men, and Nick Montgomery's Hibs are 1-0 up against St Johnstone. It's been an interesting day of football so far. Hugh, where do you see the action coming from in the second half?
Well, first of all, you would like to think that St Mirren could keep it up against Hearts, remain second top of the league. They sound as if they fully merit their lead. Hibs, it's important that Nick Montgomery doesn't squander another lead as he did last weekend, so you'll be looking for them to go in front by an even bigger margin against St Johnstone. And Dundee Kilmarnock, I think, could go either way.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy, putting patients at the heart of everything they do. Visit them today.
Let's just have a look at your predictions. How are you getting on? Are you still on course? Have you still got a chance of getting a clean sweep, anyone?
Yeah. 3 home wins.
Oh, of course. Yeah, You need that. Dundee down to 10 men.
Doesn't matter.
You need
Celtic were down to 10 men today. Nobody gave them any chance.
It's a different animal.
Nobody gave them a chance.
I had 2 homes, Hibs and St Mirren, so I'm in with a shout there. And I also have Kilmarnock to win away, so
Hugh's on fire. Yeah,
that could happen. That could happen.
Kenny?
I'm sitting with a draw at the moment on that one, a home win and an away win, so I need Hearts to turn that around, and I'm expecting my old teammate to get right in amongst them at half time and then to come out and see a better Hearts in the second half.
This guy's full days depending on Hearts, let me tell you.
Yeah, we'll be bringing you all the action. We're here until 6 o'clock. Remember, we will have the open line later, so if you've got any thoughts on today's games, maybe tomorrow's games as well, we want to hear from you. From 5 o'clock we'll get a second half teaser up and running as well, and we want to hear your famous footballing neighbours of past and present. That's after Stephen Robinson said that he sees Stephen Naismith out and about, the two of them taking each other on today in St Mirren against Hearts. We've had a few good ones in the studio as well, Hugh with Danny McGrain and Gordon with Bobby Charlton. We've had plenty on Twitter as well, so tweet us at Clyde SSB. Don't tweet us your address, remember. Just tweet us the details. We want to know who, and we want to know.
And if I ever gave you directions in the street, give me a break.
keep them to yourself.
Oh, Hugh's not happy. He's taking it personally.
I'll be after him tonight.
And don't send us photos of Hugh out and about walking in the street either.
Very, very
rudely,
disturbing.
just walking about rudely on the streets.
Let the man have some time to himself.
Probably walking along singing a happy tune.
Tony Bennett.
Yes, I left my heart in Darmuir West.
I think there was Marley Watkins actually went off injured late in the first half for Kilmarnock, and Dallas came on, so that was one we didn't get an update on, so there is a change there. He has been a good signing as well, Marley Watkins, for Derek McInnes, hasn't he?
He has been, yep. I think he's a player he knows well, and I think up front again for Kilmarnock, I think they've got firepower, like Vassell, Armstrong, obviously he's chipped in with the penalty goal today, Watkins, Andy Dallas, who's now came on, knew him as a young lad at Rangers. We had to go down south to the conference and kind of rebuild his career back up, got his move to Barnsley after a wonderful season last year, now finds himself back up at Kilmarnock on loan, so hopefully he goes and does well. Not too well because I've got 1-1, but hopefully it's a good game.
Teams are out at Dens Park, but I think it wasn't a welcome reception back onto the pitch for David Munro, the referee, after a red card for Josh Mulligan. He was sent to the screen, stood by his decision, and then didn't send off Robbie Dees for what was by all accounts a similar type of challenge.
Who likes referees apart from Gordon Dalziel?
Right, let's get this up and running, Hugh, shall we?
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
think this is a tricky one. I have played alongside John Barnes and Stephen Presley. I have been managed by Howard Kendall and Walter Smith. I won domestic cups in both Scotland and England, and I also scored 4 goals for my country, but none of them in a competitive match. Who am I? So played alongside John Barnes, Stephen Presley, managed by Howard Kendall and Walter Smith, won domestic cups in Scotland and England, and scored 4 international goals, but none of them in a competitive match.
Remember, you can see that in written form at Clyde SSB on Twitter, and that's exactly where you need to tweet us your answer. It is quickest first. There is a podium, so you want to get on that, so make sure if you work it out at Clyde SSB. Sometimes helps to see it written down as well, because there are quite a lot of details. There's a quizzical look on the face of Gordon Dalziel there.
No, I'm thinking. No.
Interestingly, Robbie Dees has been substituted off as well after he was the one that was booked in the first half.
Doesn't want to give the referee a chance to even things up. Get him off.
An experienced move from Derek McInnes.
The man who said Scotland played rubbish football has been sent off. Rodri of Manchester City.
There he is, indeed. Who was not a happy boy, was he?
No.
After that night at Hampden, neither was Pedro Porro, either the Tottenham fullback who was, I think he was hooked at half time, wasn't he? So looking forward to that game against Spain coming up next month.
Brave referee to send off a Manchester City player at the Etihad.
By the way, he was brilliant through the week as well. I actually went down to their Champions League game on Tuesday night. Yeah, but it was superb. He scored a brilliant. No, absolutely not.
Should have given a phone.
It was Rodri scored a wonderful goal as well.
It's getting a bit tasty apparently at Easter Road. Stevie May and Rocky Bashiri both booked after a bust up. That's some nice tabloid language from Roger Hanna there, isn't it? A bust up.
Yeah.
Getting a bit tasty, he says.
Bit fire in the belly from St Johnstone. That's what they need.
Yeah, Nick Montgomery will be hoping that his players just keep their heads and keep that lead.
Bun fight on Leith.
Nice. I like it. Wolves 1-0 up in the Premier League. Pedro Neto
down to 10 men as well.
Down to 10 men, that's a good point. Luton are going to be toiling this season.
No, they are. Right. My good friend manages them as well. Rob Edwards has done a wonderful job getting Luton up there in the first place, but I think it was always going to be a really, really tough season for them. And just when I seen again, it's my old team, Wolves actually he's playing against, and Rob actually used to work at Wolves. He was the under 23s manager for a couple of years as well. So it's I thought once I seen Wolves go down to 10 men, he might have had a chance of getting something, maybe that first one on the board, but obviously Wolves have went and taken the lead.
There's a lot of talk about whether Luton could break the low points record. That was your Derby side, wasn't it?
It was, it absolutely was, and I think they've got a right good chance that they could. It's been a real tough start for them. I think this is 5 games in. This could be 5 straight losses, and again, you're not going to get a better chance against a Wolves team that a lot of people were thinking they might struggle this year as well. Obviously their manager changed at the start of the season as well, but going down to 10 men and then particularly at home and then falling 1 goal behind, so it could be the day that 10 men teams actually go and win games.
A lot of people sort of look at that Luton side and just think, got promoted too early, they just aren't equipped for the Premier League. Is that what the season felt like when you were at Derby, that maybe just didn't have the resources to compete?
A bit different. Derby are a big club, and they had been in the Premier League before as well, so I think it's different. I mean, Luton, you might never see Luton back there again. I mean, you say promoted too early, like incredible that they did get promoted. I think when you look at their stadium and the resources that they've got, it was an incredible job that Rob done to get them up, and all credit to the players for actually doing it. But it was you might never see them back there again.
You're talking about a club though who almost went out of business. To be in the English Premier League is a miracle. They're like Brighton. I mean, Brighton were the 92nd club in England in the late 90s, and then saved themselves and now playing in Europe.
Well, it was a big decision for Nick Montgomery, wasn't it, to start Yair Tavares, who hadn't started a game for 13 months. He's been substituted off for Eli Yuan.
I like Yuan as a player, but clearly Nick Montgomery will be his own man. He knows it doesn't matter that you haven't played for the team for over a year. He thinks he's capable of doing something, and then when he thinks he's run his course, off he goes, and Yuan comes on. It wouldn't surprise me if Yuan now scored the second goal.
I think a player that used to play in the Scottish Premierships had one of those days where he scored at both ends. Harry Clark, remember him? He was on loan at Ross County, and then Hibs. He scored at both ends for Ipswich. Today, Kenny Miller with a guess on the who am I? No,
it was a bit of a wild guess, to be honest, but I think he ticks boxes, but no good.
I tell you what, I'm seeing a lot of answers come in, and I don't think I'm seeing any correct answers so far, but you always know it's a good one when there are loads of different wrong answers, when people are just sort of plucking names from wherever, taking one bit of information.
A quick reminder, I played alongside John Barnes and Stephen Presley. I've been managed by Howard Kendall and Walter Smith. I won domestic cups in Scotland and England. I also scored 4 goals for my country, but none of them in a competitive match.
Let's do some of the answers coming in on Twitter. Running Bear says Gordon Strachan.
No.
Mark O'Neill said, you put your pen down there. Was that one of your guesses?
It was not. I was just scrubbing at my wrong answer there, actually.
Mark O'Neill says Paul Rideout.
I can see why, but
remember him.
Stevie Black says James Beattie.
No.
And one final one, James Fullerton has gone for Rod Wallace.
Don't bother.
Yeah, plenty of different wrong answers. This is going to test the listeners at home, but you know what? They always find a way. They always find a way of getting it. I've got faith that there will be some correct answers in there. We'll get back to that in a bit. There hasn't been too many goals really in the second half around the grounds. There is a hat-trick for Jordan Rhodes. We were just talking about him earlier on. 4-0 up against Reading.
Scores goals at that level, doesn't he? He's been absolutely terrific. Moved about a little bit, but still finds the back of the net.
Some big money moves as well. You think
finds the back
Middlesbrough and Norwich and then Blackburn had some big money moves. Jordan will be what, 34 maybe, 34, 35 maybe.
Still banging them in for fun.
Jordan Rhodes is 33.
33. Plenty of time left for Jordan.
Finish your career at Blackpool.
14 Scotland caps. How many goals do you think he got, Gordon?
I would say none.
He got 2 in one game. That's for against Luxembourg. Is that his only 2?
Great memory. Also scored against Australia at Easter Road.
Yeah, friendlies. Could have been the answer to the question. No competitive goals.
Kilmarnock in command, as you'd expect, with the team with 11 men, but nothing has happened so far.
Maybe not as you'd expect, because you'd expect Livingston to have done more against Celtic with over an hour played.
It's very different though, isn't it? Livingston against Celtic to Kilmarnock against Dundee.
You could argue that that Celtic game, and be interesting to hear from the fans at 5 o'clock, you could argue that 10-man Celtic gave their best performance of the season today.
I think also maybe that first half or the last half hour of the first half against Rangers, they were pretty much in control, created a couple of good chances, got their goal. First half they were pretty good, maybe from start to finish, because I thought they were pretty good up until the sending off. Livingston were definitely better, but second half, I mean, it could have been 4 or 5 at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, a good chance for Ellie Ewan, who's just off the bench, but he scooped that one over when he really had to score.
Could have made my day. I could have got something right.
Yeah, no goal for them. There has been a second goal for Spartans, 2-0 up against East Fife. Blair Henderson with the goal for Spartans.
Still plenty of years for that to happen, Hugh.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm not concerned at all. I'll keep giving folk directions in the street, no matter what is said about them.
Turn around for Edinburgh City. They're now 2-1 up against Cove Rangers. Ryan Shanley with the goal for them. Not going too well for Paul Hartley, is it?
No. They've lost their way.
Yeah, I mean, Edinburgh City are the team sitting bottom of the table as well with no points. So this would be their first points of the season, their first win of the season. If they could hold on, they still wouldn't leapfrog Cove, who are second bottom with 5 points. But Edinburgh City really need to spark themselves into life. 6 defeats on the bounce, 16 goals conceded, but they've shown a bit of character so far today to get
just
back into that game.
Shows you when you change your name, doesn't always work for you.
As all managers always say, it's a long road that has no turning.
Yeah, not heard too much from the Smythe Stadium from Fraser Wishart in the second half so far, so it sounds maybe as if St Mirren are just aren't being troubled too much by Hearts, or holding on to their lead well.
It's a troubling and puzzling one for Stephen Naismith and Frankie McAvoy, because Hearts are just not winning league matches. You know that they did win last weekend, but that was their 4th win in 16 league matches.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as if they've had a terrible start to the season. They were 5th going into things. Today they had 2 wins from 5, so they've maybe not been as bad. Oh, Gordon Dalziel has just got the teaser.
Oh,
wow.
There you go. That's impressive, mate, isn't it?
Absolutely. There you go.
Thank you very much.
He is surprisingly good at these.
Oh,
Although the one thing we always need to check is, see in the couple of minutes before he wrote that down, was he on his phone at all?
Not at all.
Oh, right, okay.
Not at all.
I was actually going to go with him as well. That was my next one. His brother.
I will take you down a peg or two and say that there have been a couple of correct answers on Twitter, so you're not the quickest. But look, fair play to you. That is a very good answer. Well done.
Just jigsaw. Start with the outside and work round, and then just fill in the missing blanks.
Remember, you can see that question at Clyde SSB. Make sure to tweet us. There is a goal for East Fife. They've pulled one back instantly against Spartans. Scott Shepherd with the goal for them.
So all 3 games in the balance then in the Premiership could go any way at all.
Yeah, Fraser Wishart saying a quiet second half in Paisley. Gogic had a half chance with his head, his heavily stitched up head. I was speaking to him yesterday, it was, and quite a lot of stitches he's got in his eyebrow after an incident last weekend where he got bandaged up and carried on, but that's just the type of player he is. McMenamin, a quick turn and shot, but that one was straight at Xander Clark, so it's still very much St Mirren in the ascendancy.
Puzzling, you know. Kenny pointed out, good players in that Heart squad, nothing doing today.
It's not even last season. They maybe started the season slow, but they had the European group stages to contend with. Hearts, they've not got this campaign. They are still in a half decent position in the league in 5th place, but maybe just haven't really kicked into life this season. You thought that maybe the win over Aberdeen last weekend would do that?
Yeah, I thought so. They needed that win, let's be honest about it. They were coming under a little bit of pressure. I think they should be doing better. Let's not be kidded here, because they've invested a lot of money into the squad. They've got good players. They've got guys that can score you goals. Of course you can. They've got international players. They're not performing to their best just now. They need to turn the corner very quickly, because you know that Hearts have got a big home support and a travelling support, and if you're not doing well,
they're noisy, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're very noisy.
They're not shy.
And I see when you look at Hearts, like, I'm just going back over the results at the moment, and I firmly believe in the squad that they've got there, that is probably the strongest outside the Old Firm. But it must be a wee bit concerning, like, the results when you're looking through them. Like, again, losing to Pauk, lose to Dundee, lose to Pauk again, lose to Motherwell. I mean, particularly Dundee and Motherwell games in the domestic scene, and then they come back and have a good win against Aberdeen. But they're losing against St Mirren. Again, I know St Mirren have started great, but Hearts fans will think we have to go and beat teams. If we want to be third in this league and be the third force, we need to be going and beating these teams, because again, going back to budgets and resources, Hearts have far greater opportunity to recruit better players if they're doing it properly. So it might be a bit concerning. Like Gordon says, this Hearts crowd, I mean, they were very, very vocal over the whole of Robbie Nielsen's tenure, and this, for me, again, it would be a wee bit concerning, the inconsistency of the results and the performances.
And then you've got midweek, Kenny. You know, they're away to Kilmarnock in the Viaplay Cup. Now, Rangers have Livy. I think if Celtic go out of a competition, Rangers should win it. And Rangers would be overwhelming favourites when you look at the form of the other sides left in the competition. You know, unless Aberdeen can be resurgent after that Eintracht Frankfurt game, and we'll find out tomorrow when they play Ross County. Then they play Ross County away in the Cup. But the Hearts fans would be expecting to find their team in the last 4 of the competition.
Best spell of the match for St Johnstone against Hibs. David Marshall busy. He's had to save one on the line from Considine after a corner, and then he had to punch another one out for a corner as well. Almost a Dundee goal as well. The 10 men of Dundee. It was Bakayoko again, this time a header from a free kick, but that one was tipped over the bar by Will Dennis. So a bit of action happening. Dundee looking as if they're doing not too badly with 10 men.
Well, I had 2 Beat the Pundit wins this week, Wednesday and last night. I'm now hoping for a Kilmarnock goal at Dens, and it'll be a clean sweep
Well, I'm on
not
it.
a bad week for Hugh, would it be?
I'm on his heels because I had 2 good wins. Well, I had a double or quits, I've got to say.
Oh, that was a sort of Stewards Inquiry win that you had there, wasn't
the
it?
wee guy cheated. We all know he cheated. He got ousted for it. He then went to a double or quits, tucked him away, no ball. Got a great victory on Thursday, and I'm waiting on a Dundee goal. So I'm with Hugh here. I think Kenny's struggling a wee bit.
I'm not sure I am. I'm just waiting on 2 Hearts goals. I'm unbeaten and beat the pundit the whole season. I'm only waiting on 2 Hearts goals and I trumped the lotties.
Another hat-trick down south for a name of interest, Morgan Whittaker, who Rangers tried relentlessly really last January to sign and were unable to, from Derby, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And unable to sign him. Swansea, of course. Spent the season on loan at Plymouth. He's now at Plymouth again, scored a hat-trick today.
It's an incredible result that actually. Plymouth 5, Norwich 0. Like Norwich, one of the favourites probably to not just go up but win the league, and they're getting beat 5-0 for the team that's just been promoted this season. So it's a real upset going on there.
I decided to pick 2 teams today just for 50 pence, and both of them have lost 5 goals respectively. So it shows you what I know.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's you, Jinx, I know you.
Norwich and the other ones, Plymouth, were beating.
No, it's Reading. It's Reading. Blackpool, Reading.
Please gamble responsibly out there. Yep. Triple change for St Mirren. Stephen Robinson looking to freshen things up. Alex Grieve, Mikael Mandron and Caelan Boyd-Munce coming on. Olasanya, McMenamin and Bacchus coming off. But that maybe is the difference for St Mirren this season, that they do have good options off the bench. Alex Grieve has already scored a couple of goals this season. Mikael Mandron has maybe surprised a few, just with the way he started at St Mirren after being at Motherwell last season. And Caelan Boyd-Munce, who was initially brought in January with a view to really kicking on this season, and he's looked pretty tidy in midfield. So Stephen Robinson will be happy with the options he's got off the bench. There was also a Mitov save from Ellie Ewan.
I think that's important now. Everybody talks about the strongest starting 11, but nowadays with the amount of games, and especially with the time added on in VAR as well, to have a good bench, to have players that can come on and make a difference, make an impact, change games. I'm not just talking about forwards, I'm talking about defensive midfield players, I'm talking about defenders. When you're maybe leading away from home and you need someone to get in there and just steady the ship. And I think St Mirren have got that perfectly because of the balance that they've got to their team. They've got guys that can come on there and do a terrific defensive job, and they've got guys that can come on and score goals and win games for them. And they're doing really, really well. And you've got to say, he's recruited. And how much was St Mirren's budget? It wasn't a great deal, was it? So it's been good management.
First chance of the game for Hearts. They've taken their time. It was Frankie Kent's header from Kingsley's corner. Actually hit the post, I think. Claims for a handball. It was actually Greg Kiltie who was on the post, didn't hit the post. It came off Greg Kiltie, who was one of the men on the post. Some claims for a handball, but Fraser Wishart's saying it definitely hit his stomach.
Well, sign of life. Long way to go. Could
Well,
still
it's taking
get
their
some.
time up. We must be a good 65 minutes into the game or so, and that's the first kind of any real chance for Hearts, which is no good considering that said. I think they're
hoping for a wee bit more goals in the second half. I think we built the first half up well, and a bit of excitement there, and the lads just listening to their half-time reports. I was very confident we were going to get more goals second half.
Yeah, not a whole lot going on really in the second half. Not even down the divisions. There doesn't seem to have been many goals across the Championship and League One and League Two.
Any famous neighbours?
Any famous neighbours? Let's have a look. Maybe gone a bit quiet on that one. Maybe everyone got their shouts in early. Remember, we want to know, because Stephen Robinson was talking about Stephen Naismith and how the two of them are taking on each other today, but live in the same part of the world. Do you have any famous footballing neighbours? Have you had any in the past? Of course, as I say, don't tweet us your address, please. Just tweet us, who did you maybe grow up playing football with on your street, or who do you see out walking the dog? I will have a wee search at the moment to see if there's any I can find. There is a red card for Dundee United, Jordan Tilson, who was signed late on in the window. He is on loan from Ross County.
Are they still 0-0?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I mean, it's Inverness, Scally, Thistle. They got rid of Billy Dodds. Charlie Christie is taking the team today, Ryan's dad.
There's a goal there.
There is a goal indeed.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Hibs 2, St Johnstone 0. It's a goal for Dylan Venta, and it looks as if it could well be a very good day for Nick Montgomery and those Hibs fans.
Well, St Johnstone have only scored 2 goals all season, so they're not going to come back from that. It's another worrying day for them, rooted to the bottom of the league and looking in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, Roger Hannah was just saying that it was St Johnstone's best spell of the game. He says they've actually conceded in their 2 best spells of the game.
Yeah.
Either side of half time. They've now had a flurry of substitutions, including, how about this for a move, 16-year-old Rory Whittaker on for his Hibs debut Scotland Youth International. So Nick Montgomery liking what he's seeing from the 16-year-old and has decided to throw him on at 2-0 up.
I like that as well. The Rangers, I think, will throw Bailey Rice into it tomorrow at some point, and he's 16. So you watch kids on the continent all the time scoring goals. Teenagers were scoring goals all over the place in the Champions League midweek. So yeah, I like that. He's shown faith in a player who hadn't played for over a year, and now he's got a 16-year-old in there. So I like Nick Montgomery's style.
It's good for the fans to see that as well.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. Years gone by, when you were coming through the ranks, especially when I was a young kid as well, if you were on the bench and things were going well for you, the manager tend to throw you on there to show fans, look what will be going out the door next year. Young kids coming on and introducing them into the first team, which gives you such great experience. And obviously this guy believes that the boy's good enough. 16, 17, it doesn't matter. If you're good enough to go and play,
exactly.
on you go.
Ben Doak started for Liverpool in the Champions League.
Yeah, Europa League it was midweek.
Europa League. 17 years old. If you're good enough, you're old enough.
I'll tell you what, 16 years old, it's his debut. A huge day for Rory Whittaker, and Roger Hannah's decided to spoil it for him because he says Rory Whittaker has the look of a young David Friel.
Oh,
that's harsh. Come on, give him a chance.
It's hard.
And we can say whatever we like because David Friel is away on holiday at the moment. He sent into our Saturday group chat that we've got, he said something about it being 33 degrees and then replied to himself quickly saying, oops, sorry, wrong chat. Very good, David.
You're on a sunbed.
Very good. Airdrieonians 1, Wraith Rovers 0. Callum Gallagher, who scored a bucket load of goals last season in League One, continuing his good form into the Championship season after their promotion.
Top of the table, Wraith as well. Yeah. And with Dundee United still drawing and down to 10 men up at Inverness, could have been a great afternoon just to stretch that lead a little bit. But Airdrie bounced back. They got a terrible result. Was it Arbroath last week? 4-0 thrashing. So they were looking for a bounce back, and they've certainly got it.
Montrose 1-0 up against Stirling Albion. Kane Hester on the score sheet for the hosts in that game.
Well, it's all gone quiet again. So are we going to well, Hibs will win. That's done and dusted. St Mirren, they're looking good for it.
Yeah, it sounds as if Hearts maybe, well, I mean, they've only had their first chance of the game, but may well look to be trying to get back into it anyway, making a bit of an effort, and then really up in the air between Dundee and Kilmarnock, because the best chance we've heard of the second half really has come from Dundee, despite the fact that they're down to 10.
That could very likely finish a draw.
That's what I've got anyway. I'm only just giving you home wins and away wins. I'm just giving you scorelines. I'm going 1-1s, 2-0s. I'm just nailing it. I actually didn't name the scorers. You never give me a chance to actually get that out.
That's the tactic of these two, is they just go as vague as possible. They'll go maybe a home win, just so that they can kind of just twist it if it doesn't go their way.
Doesn't even matter, Kenny. We still get it wrong every single week.
Another disallowed goal for St Mirren. They had one in the first half. They've got one in the second half as well. Mikael Mandron, he won the ball from Frankie Kent, slipped the ball past Clark, but Nick Walsh has given a foul, and Fraser Wishart says has correctly given a foul in his opinion. So I don't think there will be any drama there.
If Lord Wishart says it's foul, it's a foul.
I tell you what, it seems St Mirren are really good value for their win at this moment for the reports that we're getting in. I mean, that's a couple of disallowed goals. It's been probably the better of the chances as well. I mean, like you say, we've probably had one Hearts opportunity from a corner. So St Mirren seemingly good value for their 3 points up until now.
I still think if you're in that St Mirren dugout, you're really looking for that second goal, because we've highlighted it, the threat that Hearts have got. You can keep them quiet, but if they get an opportunity, you can find the back in it. All of a sudden, all that good work's undone.
There obviously would have been a VAR check on that one because play was allowed to continue and the ball was in the back of the net, but the decision stands. There's an equaliser for East Fife against Spartans. They were 2-0 down. It's now 2-2. Nathan Austin with the goal for them. Dave Galloway saying that Dundee certainly took a lift despite Bakayoko's miss. Now looking more in things.
Still think it'll end the draw.
Annan Athletic 1, Alloa 1, Aidan Smith scoring for the hosts. Is that the fight back on?
Oh, yes.
Plymouth 5, Norwich 1.
Yeah, my predictions are looking not bad now.
Cash out now while you can.
4 pence. 4 pence. I once cashed out. Mark Wilson slaughtered me. £1, 10 pence. Boom, I'll take that for next week.
As I say, please gamble responsibly.
Yeah.
Right, Hugh, do you want to read the teaser out again and I'll get some answers from Twitter?
I have played alongside John Barnes and Stephen Presley. I've been managed by Howard Kendall and Walter Smith. I've won domestic cups in Scotland and England, and I scored 4 goals for my country, but none of them in a competitive match.
Lots of participation on this on Twitter. Scott Connie says Mark Walters.
No.
Paul Johnston has gone for Duncan Ferguson.
So the
Kenny
Dazzler or
no, Kenny, the Dazzler got it right.
Right.
I would have got their Dazzler.
No, you wouldn't have.
Calm yourself.
Arkham Anarchy has gone for Dion Dublin.
No.
That's why you don't need to run, Kenny. You sprinted, I just walked right by.
One more shout. Alistair Gill says Alan Stubbs.
Stubbsy, no.
So make sure to get your answers in at Clyde SSB. We want to hear them. And talking about Rory Whittaker coming on, 16 years old for Hibs. Well, Stephen Mclean's decided to send on his own 16-year-old Fran Fransak, who is 6 days younger than Rory Whittaker. Roger Hanna tells us that's good research. Both born in August 2007. Hugh.
Well, what would I be?
2007.
I'd be
you were retired.
I'd be 57 when we were born.
50. 2000.
That even makes me feel all that. What these two feel like.
August 2007. 2 players from August 2007 now on the pitch.
Stephen
in that
McLean,
game, quite something.
Stephen McLean trying to get a wee bit of positivity as a result. That's an academy product on the pitch. It's clever play.
You find out his dated birth. You're 6 days younger. On you go.
Just one he can chuck into the post-match press conference and say,
it was great to get
player.
the young lad on for a debut. The club's youngest player in their history. It's great. We've just been beat 3-0.
I do the same myself.
Good luck to the 2 youngsters, the 2 16-year-olds making their debut. Kyle Vassell had a big chance in the first half. He's just rippled the side netting with a shot as Arbroath go 3-0 up away to Partick Thistle. And Jermaine Hilton is looking like a very good signing for Arbroath because he scored against Airdrieonians last weekend. He's now scored 2 today for Arbroath, former Motherwell winger.
Well, what has happened to the Jags? I was reading a piece in Roger Hanna's newspaper this morning about their former manager Ian McCall. You should be listening to this, Dazzler. He's getting married at the age of 59.
Oh, Collie, give me a phone. 0141951. Please give me a phone.
Let that be an inspiration to you.
If there is going to be anyone dishing out marriage advice, it is not going to be Gordon Dalziel on a public platform.
Congratulations to him.
If you're listening, Collie, all the best.
Yes.
When's he getting married?
Next year.
Plenty of time.
You see, he's just waiting to see if the invite comes through.
Oh, Collie, I'll invite me.
You'll be best man, surely.
Oh, I've got a great.
I was going to say, we were the only guest that gets given a +4 to the wedding.
Yeah.
I'll bring my other wives and just fill it up. There you go. Happy days. It just shows you still time for my number 4.
Here we go. This is why we employ Roger Hanna. The week Whittaker and Fransak were born, Kenny scored for Celtic against both Falkirk and Aberdeen. and then
my last,
sold to Derby County.
Oh, there you go.
There you
Roger,
go.
right on the ball.
Right on the
Tell
case. I
him
like
he's
that.
a game to watch. No wonder we're getting
It's
no
stats
reports.
from that game. It's from that game.
You
Two
know what I
16-year-olds at his game. He's giving him some context, some extra info. I like it.
Do us a favour, tell him I'll leave a tab at his local if he tells me where I was in 2007 in August.
Let's not get into that. Let's absolutely not get into that whatsoever. I'll tell you what, why don't we hear a bit from Brendan Rodgers on Celtic's performance, that 3-0 win over Livingston. Here's what he had to say after the game.
Well, it was a monumental win in terms of on the back end of playing with 9 men during the week, and then coming to Livingston, which notoriously is a very, very tough place, not just for Celtic but for many teams. So to play with that control and mentality tactically, especially when we went to 10 men, was very good. So attitude and energy you need, and that's what we had that to start the game. You know, great move for the penalty. Football, the patterns, our movement was excellent. We obviously go down to 10 men, and then we always have a plan for that, you know, in terms of how we work, how we keep the calmness, and I thought the players were outstanding. So yeah, 2 really good goals in the second half. And I said in there to the guys as well, when you have Diaz and Mayeda, it's not like playing with 10 men. He does the running of two guys. He's absolutely incredible. I'm so happy for him to get his goal because he was so good on the day for us.
Yeah, you could see the joy on Brendan Rodgers and his staff face when Dyson Maeda scored that goal, and no wonder. I mean, it's quite high praise, isn't it, that essentially it didn't even feel like they'd gone down to 10 men because Dyson Maeda does the running of 2 players.
Well, he was doing it in a defensive sense second half, and that's why I said to you, what a shift he's putting in. But the goal is just exquisite. And for the Celtic manager to say it's a monumental win, it shows you what was going through Brendan Rodgers' mind this morning. He's brought James Forrest into the side. He knows that Livingston has been a troublesome place for Celtic. He goes down to 10 men. He has to take Forrest back off, and he has his plan for 10 men, as he put it. And the plan is not to get overexcited and have to keep your composure, and it was then about attitude and energy, as he said, and excellent movement. So monumental win, Brendan Rodgers says, and yes, it was, given the circumstances.
Big save by Zach Hemming, diving to his right fingertip, save to deny Cammy Devlin, the shot just going wide. And Roger Hanna also saying that 16-year-old Whittaker through one-on-one with Mitov, but he blocked his shot. What a moment that would have been for the 16-year-old. And a couple of changes as well in Paisley. Charles Dunn is on for Richard Taylor, and George Grant is on for Cammy Devlin.
Doesn't sound as if Hearts are battering at any doors here for an equaliser. St Mirren scored one, another 2 disallowed. Peculiar day for Stephen Naismith and Frankie McAvoy.
Eugene O'Neill on Twitter. Once lived on the same street as John Terry. That's quite a good one.
I like that.
Don't mind that at all.
Like John Terry.
You wouldn't steal his milk?
No. Well, he wouldn't catch me in my heyday. We would now, but not then.
I was going to make a joke about John Terry stealing other people's things, but I think we'll leave that one there, shall we? It's too easy. Dunfermline 2, Morton 1. Robbie Crawford with the goal in that game.
Comebacks on for Morton, but if they ran out of time, I see obviously Queenie South lost another goal.
Yeah, it was a second for Hamilton, 2-1 up away. As we say, never does it the easy way, does he?
No.
Marvin?
No,
Palmerston Pep, as you call him.
Poundland Pep when he loses.
Have you ever said it to his face, Hugh? No, just on a Saturday afternoon where you know he physically cannot be listening to the show.
I sometimes text him with the answers to the teaser.
All the secrets are coming out now. Here we go. Really?
Right, okay. So we need to take his phone off on
They've never got the teaser right.
What is this on midweeks when he's in the studio?
Yeah, it's terrible.
I gave him Red Star Belgrade the other night.
We now found out who who Hugh's favourite is then? He's not texting you any answers, is he?
No, I've got to admit, I did cheat the other night.
What's going on here?
No.
What kind of capacity are we talking here?
We're talking about on the teaser, yeah.
Yeah, I did go for a comfort break, and as I was going there, I'd left my phone so that I wouldn't cheat, right? And by pure luck, Albie, big Celtic fan. It was a Celtic question. I shouted in, Albie, have a wee think of this before I come back out. Albie gives me the answer. The boys know I've not touched my phone. Wait at my time.
And now he's just admitted it live on the radio. He's told everyone now. So,
Wilson's like, that's brilliant.
You're not allowed to say that word, all right?
You're banned.
Oh, so it is.
Hearts pushing forward, but St Mirren defending well. The Devlin shot has been their only chance of the second half, really, so far.
Well, as I say, the Hearts fans, and they will be there in terrific number, will not be happy with yet another league defeat, and it puts pressure on them midweek in the Viaplay Cup. Hearts are one of the top 5 biggest clubs in the country. Therefore, they've got to be advancing in tournaments.
Dundee against Kilmarnock. Got one of these.
Come on, Dundee.
Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Dundee 1, Kilmarnock 2, and the visitors, the 11 men of Kilmarnock, and it is Andy Dallas that's got the goal, the man that Kenny Miller knows from his time at Rangers. Came through the youth system there, went down south, was at Solihull Moors and Chesterfield. A bit of a strange one this summer because he got a move to Barnsley, scored on his debut, and then was loaned out on transfer deadline day after scoring in his debut. And
I bumped into his dad in the gym on Tuesday morning.
Never mind, Dave Galloway's given us duff information. It's Danny Armstrong. There we go. Cancel your stories about Andy Dallas.
It's an Armstrong double.
There we go. Danny Armstrong doing what he does for Kilmarnock. Dundee couldn't clear the danger, and it was Danny Armstrong, not Andy Dallas, that got the goal. And
everyone a winner.
Yeah, Hugh's on fire. Hugh's on fire.
Well done, Hugh.
There we go.
Mind you,
we've got about 9 minutes or so
for Hearts to get a goal, just to ruin Hugh's predictions.
I think that is the game that's running slightly later as well because of that Nathaniel Atkinson injury in the first half, so maybe a bit longer than 10 minutes for an extra goal in that game potentially.
I think that'll be that Kilmarnock done now. I think they've got the man advantage, they've got the goal advantage. I can see them hanging on now for a win. The question is, can Hearts have any kind of response?
Only 9 minutes to go actually, so it's running at pretty similar time to the Kilmarnock game.
A brave prediction there from Kenny. That's it, done now. Can see Kilmarnock. Oh, come on, Dundee.
I'm just turning my mind to what do people want to talk about at 5 o'clock. Obviously the Celtic performance will be high on the agenda. Rangers game tomorrow.
Yep.
Motherwell going very well now that they have to go to Ibrox, one of the major tests of their regeneration under Stuart Kettlewell. So
if St Mirren can hold out as well, it would be another big win for them. Might have some happy St Mirren fans.
You're talking about
on the phone.
For example, if St Mirren do hold on to that, you're talking about them being 12 points ahead of Aberdeen at this stage in the season.
Incredible.
12.
And maybe Hibs fans as well want to know what you made of Nick Montgomery's first home game in charge. 16,850 at Easter Road.
I like that. I went to the first game against St Mirren, 17,500. The potential there is brilliant. Well, Kenny's been there, he's played there, but the potential there is fantastic. See if you can get a good team entertaining football, you will bring back the fans, and certainly that's what's happening.
Talking of famous footballing neighbours, of course we're asking you to tweet at Clyde SSB if you've got any, because of that link between Stephen Robinson and Stephen Naismith up against each other. We had Danny McGrain for Hugh Keevins, we had Bobby Charlton for Gordon DL. Ashton Rhea says, I had Edward and Griffiths as neighbours, one on each side when they played for Celtic. Didn't see much of them.
Obviously got a few, Bob.
There we go. That's a good one as well.
I'm just hoping he
Celtic
wasn't
Strike
a
Force.
big massive Rangers fan.
Wouldn't be ideal. That is an early full time, isn't it? Clyde 2, Elgin City 1. I suppose with VAR stoppages and whatever else in the Premiership, it does seem like quite an early finish, but a good win for Clyde against Elgin City.
Games used to finish at this time.
Yeah, that's a good point. The full-time scores around the lower divisions will be going around soon, and then of course we will get the updates from Easter Road, Dens Park and the Smythe Stadium, and then of course at 5 o'clock it's your turn. We want to hear from you. 0141 951 1025. What have you made of your team's performance today? As Hugh was saying, Celtic fans, you must be delighted with what you saw from your side, especially after going down to 10 men as well. Hibs fans, maybe you're excited about the new era. And Nick Montgomery, looks as if it could well be a good win for Kilmarnock against Dundee. St Mirren looking to hold on against Hearts, of course. 2 big games tomorrow, Rangers against Motherwell, Aberdeen and Ross County as well. So let's hear your thoughts. 0141 951 1025. And what a time to score for Cove Rangers. It's an own goal, Callum Crane, and it's 2-2. So Edinburgh City looking for their first points of the season. It looks as if it will just be 1 point that they'll get.
That's a sickener for them. So close to getting the first 3 points. You got a goal there?
No. Dunfermline 3, Morton 1. And it's Michael O'Halloran with the goal. However, Hugh, let's wrap this up before we get the full times from the Premiership games.
The second half teaser.
With the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played alongside John Barnes and Stephen Presley, been managed by Howard Kendall and Walter Smith, won domestic cups in Scotland and England, and also scored 4 goals for my country, but none of them in a competitive match. I am Trevor Stephen.
Trevor Stephen, well done. Gordon Dalziel got in there pretty early, and it was all the M's on the podium. In third place, Mikey. In second place, Martin McHugh. And it was in first place, quickest off the mark, it was Mark O'Neill. Well done to you three. Great knowledge.
Yeah, great knowledge.
Talk us through your logic. How did you?
I actually, once Kenny showed me Duncan Ferguson, I sort of went round that, Everton, Rangers, Walter Smith, England. I was thinking of Gary Stevens at one point, and I thought,
I'll stop you there.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Late drama, is it? St Mirren 2, Hearts 0, and St Mirren are going to wrap up all 3 points. Alex Grieve has scored, however.
VAR review with M&D Green Pharmacy.
It will be checked for a potential offside. Alex Grieve has done well off the bench this season. He's got a couple of goals already.
That's what I said to you earlier on today when Matt O'Reilly scored for Celtic and Gordon thought there was something not right. And I said to you then, you never, every time a goal is scored now, you're never certain it's going to stand.
What's Wisher saying, quick?
Still nothing yet. Would you have hated that, Kenny, having to sort of stop yourself celebrating?
I think for offside, you kind of half got a wee feeling that if it's a close one, like you would have been away, you're in the crowd by this point. You're in the crowd, particularly for Alex Grieve scoring what would be the winning goal. That would be it. It would be points in the bag, and St Mirren would be off to an incredible start to the season. Listen, they might still hang on for the win, even if it's chopped off. But it's no ideal. It's no ideal.
Yeah, it was a deep cross from Scott Tanzer, headed down by Greg Kiltie, and Alex Grieve was there 2 yards out. Fraser Wishart saying it was hard to tell where he's from.
They're all sitting in
to
the
be fair,
fence,
it's hard to tell when you've got. You can't really tell when it comes to the lines and you're watching on TV and they've slowed it down and stopped it. It's pretty hard to tell. Still being checked though, so you would imagine it's a pretty tight one.
It's a great view from St Mirren's stand. You see both ends brilliantly. You should be on the ball. If you know on the ball,
it would be really worrying if you couldn't see both ends.
Yeah,
but the offside. If you know football, you're not watching the ball. You're watching the movement. Then you know right away that's offside. That's onside. Wishart, as usual, with PFA badge on, I'll sit in the fence.
Non-committal.
Don't want to upset MD.
I think you're being harsh. I think it's very, very tough to tell.
Well,
but we'll see. It is still being checked, so I'll tell you what, it must be a very tight one. But still no update from Fraser yet.
I'm going to go offside. That's Dundee United late goal there. Big
Oh,
goal.
10 men of Dundee United as well. Inverness 0. Managerlessness. Inverness 0. Dundee United 1. Chris Mockery with the goal in the 93rd minute. I tell you what, I think Fraser's feeling the pressure of you guys, because he's now said gut feeling is goal.
Oh, please be offside.
But the thing is, he'll know before us, so he could just say gut feeling is goal when he already knows it's a goal. But you know what, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He says gut feeling is goal, but still no confirmation yet. This is a long check, so this game will.
I'm going to say offside.
Fraser Wisher, wish I hadn't said that. No goal. It remains 1-0 to St Mirren, and it means there will be time added on. You know what? We've got to give him credit. He put himself out there. You pressured him. He decided to.
He balled it, didn't he? He crashed.
But look, no goal. It means that there will be a bit of extra time added on to this game because of that stoppage. And Hearts still have a chance of nicking a point here.
Be the ultimate sickener for St Mirren.
It really would be
if anything happened now, because they've had the ball in the net once but counted, 3 times that didn't count, and we're into the dying minutes of the game. It'd be a real blow if they didn't get all 3 points now.
Have you been keeping track of St Mirren's disallowed goals today? 3 that is now.
Yeah. Hugh's just told us that.
Well, let's get You know what? I was too busy getting a full-time report from Roger Hanna at Easter Road. What's happening, Roger?
Hibernian 2, St Johnstone 0. He learned the lyrics to the song through the week, Andrew, and now Nick Montgomery's brought his own bit of sunshine on Leith with a victory in his first home game in charge. A goal in either half from Lewis Miller and Dylan Venter gave Hibs a victory and 4 points from 2 games for the new boss, but the defeat has left Stephen Mclean St Johnstone rooted to the foot of the Premiership table. Hibs had early chances. Aaron Lafond drilling wide after 20 minutes following a layoff for Venter. Then skipper Joe Newell standing up across with Lafondra headed on target, only to be denied by the Saints goalkeeper Dimitar Mitov. Jair Tavares in his first start in 13 months fired over the bar in 20 minutes after a cutback by Miller. But St Johnstone were in the game. Karen McPherson was inches wide from the edge of the box, and then skipper Dan Phillips over the top when he really should have hit the target, and St Johnstone paid the price after 35 minutes when Hibs moved ahead. The initial set piece cleared out to Martin Boyle. He knocked it inside to Newell, and he dinked a lovely left-footed ball, stood it up to the back post. There was Miller to head across Mitov and inside the far post. St Johnstone tried hard in the second half. Stevie May and Rocky Bashiri booked for a bust-up early in the second period. Off came Tavares, on went Eli Ewan, and the substitute scooped over when he had really to hit the target. David Marshall, he had a save on the line from Andy Considine as St Johnstone pushed for a leveller, but the game was over in 69 minutes with a second goal. A lovely build-up play through the middle. Lafondra, a little pass round the corner, it freed Venter into the box, and he guided a low shot past Mitov and into the corner. There was a flurry of substitutions. Hibs sending on Rory Whittaker at 16 years and 1 month for his debut. St Johnstone responding, sending on Fran Franzak, who's 6 days younger than the Hibernian teenager. And what a moment it would have been for Whittaker, freed in the box by Boyle, only to be denied by Mitov. There was no denying Montgomery's Hibs though. Hibernian 2, St Johnstone 0.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Late drama. Dundee 2, Kilmarnock 2, and it is a goal for Zach Rudden. The goalkeeper had come up for the corner, and Zach Rudden has scored. And what about that? It looks as if Dundee, the 10 men of Dundee, are going to nick a point, Hugh.
Well, I don't mind losing my flawless record there. What a week it's been for goal scoring goalkeepers.
Well, no, it was Zach Rudden that scored. It wasn't the goalkeeper that scored. The keeper came up, but he wasn't involved in it. It was Zach Rudden that scored.
I misheard you. But that's it'll finish a draw now, won't it? But
should do. I think there were 4 minutes added in that game, and that was in the 93rd minute. So that one will finish any time now.
It's a sickener. It's a sickener if you're a Kelly fan.
It's a sickener for me because I was waiting on the Hearts goal.
But I'll tell you what, Tony Dock will be delighted with the spirit these players have showed. Getting that late goal there gives them a great point. But Derek McInnes, it'll be a long night.
I mean, it was Kilmarnock that did it last week. It was 2-0 down they were and managed to get the draw, but they're on the receiving end of a late goal in that game. Tony Docherty and the Dundee fans will be absolutely delighted. I think there were 6 minutes added in Paisley as well between St Mirren and Hearts. There were VAR stoppages in that one, so we'll see if there is any late drama in that game as well. But just hearing that full-time report from Roger Hannah, Hibs fans will be hoping that this is the start of something special.
Yeah, it's a great start. 4 points out of the possible 6. If you're being greedy, it should have been 6 out of 6 for the new manager. But Nick Montgomery will be very happy, especially at home in front of a big crowd, because they always say if the crowd come there, it's your job to keep them coming back. And obviously winning, that is a big result. And the other side of the coin, St Johnstone, what are they thinking? They're in real trouble as early as the season is.
Yeah, and Dylan Venter was a big signing, around £700,000. He scored again today. That's now 4 for the season. He's got in 9 appearances. That's looking as if it could well be a smart piece of business if he continues in that vein of form.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a good goal scoring return. I think I've seen him a few times.
Oh, another red card between Dundee and Kilmarnock, but it's for Derek McInnes.
Fighting with Tony Dock winning, that's what it was.
Yeah.
They were at it, the two of them.
A bemused smile from Derek McInnes as he's shown a red card. Clearly not happy with something, maybe in the build up to that Dundee goal, that Dundee equaliser. But Derek McInnes will have to watch on from the stand, or will he just go down the tunnel this late in the game?
Straight down the tunnel, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, it doesn't really matter where he goes because it is full time at Dens Park. Dave Galloway.
Yeah, what a game this afternoon here at Dens Park. Dundee 2, Kilmarnock 2. Dundee drew first blood on 16 minutes. Owen Beck swung in a corner and the ball was flicked on by Joe Shaughnessy for Amadou Bakayoko, unmarked, to score at the back post. Kelly hit back and Matty Kennedy drove into the box and the ball was cleared for a corner. In it came, and following a VAR check, a penalty was awarded for an apparent handball. Danny Armstrong stepped up. He missed his previous spot kick, but he tucked this one inside the left hand post to make it 1-1 after 30 minutes. And it got worse for the hosts after Josh Mulligan got a straight red card for a challenge on Danny Armstrong. Ref David Monroe was asked to review the VAR screen but maintained his original decision. Kilmarnock should have gone 2-1 up in first half injury time. Danny Armstrong slung in a great cross to the back post and Matty Kennedy was in space but could only head the ball across the face of goal and it actually glanced off a post. These fans voiced their anger at the referee at half time. You can hear them getting the bird as I speak now. They thought Robbie Dees should have walked for a robust, shall we say, tackle in the first half there rather than get a yellow card. The away team started the second half very well, but Dundee went close to going back in front when Owen Beck's free kick set up Amadou Bakayoko, and he should have done better with a header which failed to trouble Will Dennis. But this lifted the Dark Blues. The visiting team, however, went close with Kyle Vassell's drive after Danny Armstrong set up rippling the side net, and they went 2-1 up after 82 minutes. Andrew Dallas wasn't closed down, his ball in wasn't dealt with, and Danny Armstrong coolly slotted home at the back post. That looked to be pretty much that, but Dundee, what a display. They never ever gave up, and 3 minutes into injury time they got their just rewards. Bedlam at Dens Park when a corner kick led to Zach Rudden pouncing in a packed 6-yard box to score an equaliser which was richly deserved. And then just to put icing on the cake, Derek McInnes, the Kilmarnock manager, I think he may have encroached on the field of play and he got a red card from the referee, and off he trotted with a very bemused grin on his face. Quite an afternoon here at Dens Park. Dundee 2, Kilmarnock 2.
Yes, full time in Paisley as well. Was there any late drama, Fraser Wishart?
There was almost late drama, Andrew. St Mirren 1, Hearts 0. St Mirren fans around me absolutely delighted around this ground, but 30 seconds ago they had their hearts in their mouth as Lawrence Shankland. They shackled him all day. He didn't have a chance until the 96th minute when he was free inside the box, and a brilliant save by Zach Hemming, who came off his line very quickly to smother the Scotland striker's shot. But what a terrific result and performance by St Mirren. Only one goal to show, but the better team throughout. Hearts couldn't cope with the pace, pressing and aggression from St Mirren, especially in the first half, when St Mirren completely dominated and Ryan Strain scored what was the winner after only 8 minutes. They were 1 up at half time. It could have been more. Hearts not a single effort worth talking about in the first half. The goal came in 8 minutes. Gogic, the really good switch of play from the centre out to the left. Scott Tanser made good ground. His low cross didn't seem to cause too much harm, but Clark and the defenders stood still. They hesitated. The ball ran right across everybody, and Ryan Strain came in at the back post for a tap in, the easiest goal he'll score in his career. All Lasanya's pace causing Hearts real problem, but he missed a real sitter after a Kilty shot was cleared off the line by Rose. It fell to the striker, but somehow he managed to miss kick standing the ball, and the ball was grabbed by Xander Clark. Kilty then had the goal disallowed for Richard Taylor high foot, and the only worry for Stephen Robson at half time was that we're only 1 ahead. They thought Hearts must be better in the second half, but they're almost 2 straight away. First Gogic beat Clark to McMenamin corner, the ball went over the bar, and then McMenamin clever turn and shot, but it was straight at Xander Clark. First real chance of the game for Hearts, 59 minutes. Kingsley in swinging corner, Frankie Kent rose, really powerful header, hit Greg Kilty on the line. He was at his post, claims for handball, but it clearly hit his stomach. The reaction from Stephen Robson, triple change, Olasanya, McMenamin, Bacchus off, Mandron, Grieve and Boyne months on, and immediately Tanser on the left hand side, low cross shot. It was just wide of goal, and it was just tantalisingly in front of the diving Grieve. And then St Mirren another goal disallowed, their second of the game. Mandron won the ball from Kent in a challenge outside the box and scored, but Nick Walsh correctly disallowed it, in my opinion, for a goal. With 20 minutes left, Hearts began to really push at the best spell of the game. Shanklin, lovely touch, sent Devlin through 1-1 with the goalkeeper. Low shot across Hemming, brilliantly saved by the St Mirren keeper. He dived full stretch to get his fingers to the ball, to just touch the ball inches past the post. Then St Mirren towards the end thought they'd wrapped up the points. Tanser with a deep cross, Kilty header down, and Alex Grieve turned the ball home, but after a long VAR check, the referee gave offside, disallowed the third disallowed goal of the game. And then, as I said, that heart and mouth moment with only seconds to go when Shanklin was clean through, and Zach Hemming just come across here to get the applause of the supporters. But all St Mirren were miles ahead of Hearts. Hemming had 2 fantastic saves to keep his team in the game and keep them in second place, unbeaten in the league, 2 points off the top, 7 points ahead of Hearts. Happy days in Paisley, but Hearts still to find top gear this season. Full time in Paisley, St Mirren 1, Hearts 0.
What an afternoon of football, and now it's over to you. 0141 951 1025 on the open line. Celtic fans, what did you make of that 3-0 win away to Livingston? Happy with the quality and the character of your team winning that 3-0 after going down to 10 men in the first half. Kilmarnock fans, heartbreak for you at the end of that game against Dundee. That late Zach Rudden goal for the 10 men of Dundee will be a sickener. Hibs fans, I want to hear what you think of Nick Montgomery in his first win at Easter Road, 2-0 over St Johnstone, and what it must be like to be a St Mirren fan at the moment. High flying, another win against Hearts, action at both ends, a big save by Hemming at the end, and that goal from Ryan Strain. 3 disallowed goals as well. I'm sure you've got something to say on that game, and of course 2 big matches tomorrow. Rangers fans, what are you thinking in terms of team news? Who do you want to see play against Motherwell tomorrow? 0141 951 1025, and you can be up next.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with lookers.co.uk. Choose from 30 manufacturers and over 6,000 vehicles online. The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with lookers.co.uk. Choose from 30 manufacturers and over 6,000 vehicles online. The action, it's your reaction. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Well, a day of drama in the Scottish Premiership. We had red cards, we had a last minute equaliser as well, we had some good goals to boot as well, and now we want to hear from you. 0141 951 1025. Lots of talking points in the Premiership. It was a 3-0 win for Celtic against Livingston, despite Joe Hart being sent off in the first half. A 2-2 draw between Dundee and Kilmarnock. The 10 men of Dundee scoring a last minute goal, Zach Rudden gaining them a point. It was a win for Nick Montgomery in his first outing as manager at Easter Road, and St Mirren holding on for a 1-0 win against Hearts, and they continue to fly high in the Scottish Premiership. Let's hear from you. 0141 951 1025. Hugh, how do you reflect on today's action?
Well, when Brendan Rodgers can describe Celtic beating Livingston 3-0 as a monumental win, then you know that he went into that match with reservations, what would happen after Europe, what would happen to a team who finished with 9 men in Rotterdam. And then, after half an hour, we're down to 10 men when Joe Hart was sent off. It turned into a very big afternoon for Celtic in a positive sense, because they scored very good goals, and Maeda was the star turn both defensively and as the provider of the third and best goal. And for St Mirren, they're next to Celtic in the league table, and as I say, after 6 games of the season, for St Mirren to be 12 points in front of Aberdeen, and Aberdeen have the pressure on them tomorrow against Ross County.
Well, let's go straight to the phone, shall we? Jerry is a Celtic fan in Kilwinning. Jerry, it was described as monumental by Brendan Rodgers. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it was a very good performance, Andrew. Can I just quickly address Hugh and something before I make my main point? No, Hugh, last night you said on the show that Celtic have not had one decent performance this season.
I didn't say not one decent. I said convincing performance.
Right, well, does Ibrox not count now? Because you also said that we had not faced up to the odds or faced adversity this season. I thought going to Ibrox against 50,000 Rangers fans baying for blood like a Roman mob in the Colosseum was a pretty good performance.
Well, Celtic had a performance that day that I'm sure you'll agree had good elements and poor elements, and they got the goal from Kyogo, outstanding goal, and that gave them something to cling on to. But as I say, for me, today's performance was convincing in every way, because it contained all the elements of attitude and desire and aggression and resilience. So for me, I think that was the best performance of the season.
What pleased you most, Jerry?
Matt O'Reilly. I think this guy is basically he's good as Tom Rogic, but he's got the stamina and the athleticism that maybe Tom struggled with. I think he's only going to get better under Brendan Rodgers. Like you could tell, he loves playing under Brendan. Guys admire. I know that the first touch sometimes isn't great, but when he can produce a moment of magic right at the end, you can see the value in him. It's not just that; it's the running, it's the tracking back, it's the tackling, everything about him. I think he's an underappreciated player amongst many Celtic fans. But just the overall performance, I would agree with you. We were up against it. I didn't think Livingston were very good. I think. I'm not a fan of David Martindale's style of football anyway, or that pitch, but we still had to go there and produce the performance coming off the back of the final, which again I think had Lagabieko not been unfairly punished, I think that could have been a different outcome. But I'm very happy with how things are going. I think Brendan wants to bring in a different style to an extent than Ange does, a bit more cautious at times, a bit more defensive minded. That can only be a good thing going forward. You can't just play 100 miles per hour all the time. So I am happy that everything is moving forward. Not particularly happy with all the signings yet, but hopefully in January that will be worked on a little bit more.
Yeah, one of the players Jerry mentions is Matt O'Reilly. He's got a 4th goal of the season already. It looks as if he is being utilised differently by Brendan Rodgers than he was, than Ange Postecoglou, and it's certainly working from a goal scoring sense, isn't it, Kenny?
Listen, I thought he's been an excellent signing since he came to Celtic. Really like the way he plays. I do agree with Jerry. I think originally he maybe did look like he was tiring towards the end of the game, similar to what Tom Rogic did. I also like the comparison as well. I think the way they receive the ball, how they play the game is very, very similar. But yeah, Matt O'Reilly is for me, he's right alongside Callum McGregor in there. I know Hatati's not been quite at that level when he's only came into the team over the last 2 or 3 games, but Matt O'Reilly's a fixture in there alongside Callum McGregor, and like you say, he's adding goals to his game this year more so than what he did over the last couple of seasons. So really, really good player. I believe he will only get better. That's why I think teams were calling for him in the summer, and there was a hefty price tag to go along with it. So yeah, it was good today after a quiet first half. He then came into the second half with his goal and also a far better performance.
Jerry also mentioned Dyson Maeda, who he says he's a player that maybe there are some question marks over his quality on the ball sometimes, but with the praise that Brendan Rodgers gave him earlier on, and the fact that it didn't feel like going down to 10 men because Maeda does the running of 2 players, just how vital can that be for a team and for a manager in a situation like that, when you've got a player who, right at the end of the game where Celtic are down to 10 men, they're 2 goals up, he's still chasing, he's still trying to make something happen, wins the ball, scores.
It's fantastic for a manager and obviously for a team, Because Brendan Rodgers is right. They'll have a game plan. If something goes wrong, they go down to 10 men. And I totally agree with Jerry. Sometimes he frustrates you with his first touch, but you cannot deny his work rate. His work rate is second to none. He must be a joy for the other players to have on the pitch, especially when you're down to 10 men, because he'll do so much running off the ball. He'll work his socks off. He really does. And the icing on the cake for him today, and I said it after the game, nobody deserved the goal more than him. I thought O'Reilly second half picked his game up. I didn't think he played particularly well in the first, but he's a talent, a real talent. Adding goals to the game will only be better. But Maeda, I thought, icing on the cake, terrific goal. He took it absolutely fantastically well, and he deserved it for his work rate. And I think Brendan Rodgers was quite right to point him out, because he had a very good afternoon.
Jerry, is that the type of performance you'd now expect Celtic to go and build on?
I think so, Andrew. I think with Brendan and the team now getting moving forward, it's only going to go one way. Can I just say very quickly though, Kenny, I commend you in your comments what you said about Matt O'Reilly there. Unfortunately, there are times when you do come across as one of the most bitter anti-Celtic media pundits in the landscape. I would suggest you sit down with Gordon Dalziel, one of the most charming, intelligent and witty pundits in Scotland. Learn from him how to be impartial and biased on a more regular basis. He is definitely someone you can learn from.
Don't worry, Jerry, I will take him under my wing.
He's just called you intelligent there, Gordon, as well.
I am love. Don't worry, Jerry, I'll be looking after him. I'll be sitting him down after the show.
Well, that was Jerry. 01419511025 on the phones. Let's hear a bit more from Brendan Rodgers, shall we? He was asked about the incident, the red card for Joe Hart.
Yeah, well, certainly can't put it down to inexperience on this one. So, I think for Joe, it's his first sending off in his career. So the ball pops up, maybe on a grass pitch, it runs through. But no, listen, I've never suffered with problems with discipline, with teams. I think that, like you say, it's with young players that make poor decisions, and you have to go with that. But we certainly don't want to make a habit of it. That's for sure. Tony playing against 10 men or with 10 men or 9. But he apologised to his teammates, and might get him sent off every week.
Yeah, I don't think there was going to be any complaints, but even that comment at the end, Brendan Rodgers saying, we'll get him to get sent off every week, that just shows how delighted he was with the way his Celtic players reacted to that red card.
Yeah, the story of the day, apart from Dyson Maeda's fantastic goal, is the story of resilience. When Joe Hart goes off, you're down to 10 men, you take James Forrest, who was your innovative idea for the day, bring back James Forrest, and with half an hour gone you have to take him off. And the story is of the manager's composure under pressure, the way he quietly changed everything and minimised the damage done by the red card, and the way the 10 outfield players and those who came on knuckled down and dominated the match. And I think by the end they had baffled David Martindale completely, because he made 5 substitutions and it looked as if he was just throwing people on and hoping for the best.
Was it just that subtle change from Brendan Rodgers where Maeda goes a bit more central? He and Kyogo are sort of used as a two that can press that Livingston back line, and didn't really change a whole lot else, just stuck with a game plan that worked, Kenny?
Listen, I go back to the game. Ibrox, was it Bayata got sent off, and the one that Eddard scored late, was it 3-2 for Celtic at Ibrox? He'd done the same that day. I think there was a lot of things. I was actually on the bench that day, and there was a lot of things getting lost control on our side, whereas Brendan Rodgers called Scott Bryan across. You could see him talking the tactics the same way it was today. Was it Callum McGregor? And he's lived in that situation before. It's something there's no doubt he's going to have worked on over the course of a pre-season or a week. If they do go down to 10 men, this is what we're doing. We're not going to panic. We know exactly how we're going to. By the way, it does help when you've got Maeda and Kyogo, who are the guys at the front. I think that day it was Edouard and Dembele which weren't a bad two as well, to be honest. But no, he's clearly, he knows exactly, he's not going to panic, and he's right when he's got two guys that can work like that in the front line. Always helps. But like I say, the way Celtic want to play and dominate and control, nothing really changes from their, like, for their back and their midfield line. Nothing really changes. Off the ball, Maeda and Kyogo just press it out to end and they try and force things through the middle where they've got the bodies. So it was again, seen it before, but it's one thing seeing it, and it's another thing for the players to actually go and carry it out.
Well, the managers are doing their post-match media for the 3 o'clock kick-off, so we'll hear from a few of them before we finish up at 6 o'clock. And Darryl is a Celtic fan hanging on the line. We'll speak to him next.
And now a word from our podcast sponsor, Lookers Motor Group. They've got Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms across Glasgow and the West, so you can find the new or used approved car that's right for you. The Land Rover showrooms can be found in Motherwell, Darnley and the north of Glasgow, with their Jaguar and Volvo showroom found in Hillington. And right now at lookers.co.uk you can browse and shop 24/7, value your part exchange, order and take delivery from the comfort of your own home. Every approved used Jaguar, Land Rover or Volvo comes with a minimum of 12 months warranty, roadside assistance, MOT test warranty, an independent mileage and service history check, software updates and lots more. Check out lookers.co.uk to get your new or used approved Land Rover, Jaguar or Volvo today. Now back to the podcast.
The games are over. The talking begins. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Yes, let's hear your thoughts on today's action, or maybe it's tomorrow that your focus is on. Rangers at home to Motherwell, Aberdeen, Ross County, but today there were 4 Premiership games full of action. Celtic 3-0 winners against Livingston. Darryl has been holding on the line, so let's speak to him. Darryl, what did you make of Celtic's performance?
How are we doing, panel?
All good. Yourself?
I'm actually very well today. I think that Celtic have kicked on quite clearly today. I think that Rodgers clearly showed we're very in control of this league. Beale very inexperienced. Rangers were very naive to hire the man. I think that Rodgers doesn't have anything to worry about with him. I think we only need to worry about our European adventures. Of course, it was disappointing on Tuesday night. However, I don't think we've got a lot to worry about in the league because they've got such a naive manager. I think that Celtic will be quite comfortable in the league. I think we'll end up winning by 10, 15 points. I'd just like to see what the panel think about that.
I think you've gone early, Darryl. You know,
says Hugh Keevins.
Oh, I know, yeah. But there are 32 games to play. As I've said, for what it's worth, I think today was Celtic's best performance of the season, and it was with 10 men. They scored 3 and could have scored 5. But it's undeniably true that Brendan Rodgers is a far more experienced manager than Michael Beale. But I think today's performance was terrific, but should not blind anyone to the possibility of there being days when it doesn't go so well, as will be the case with Rangers. And I think to predict a 15-point win at the end of the season is premature, Darryl.
I mean, Darryl's obviously allowed to be optimistic, especially on a day where Celtic have gone to what is traditionally a very tough venue and made it look very straightforward with 10 men.
Yeah, I was impressed with Celtic this afternoon, I've got to say. I was never in any doubt about this. It's always a difficult fixture. I just thought that looking at the two lineups, Celtic, especially middle to front, just gets so much quality, and if the players turn it on, it's very hard to beat them, especially if you're Livingston, living under the budgets they live under. Even when they went down to 10 men, I thought they looked very comfortable indeed. I thought Livingston had a little spell. Of course they did. They were always going to do that with the one man advantage, but I just thought Celtic, probably disappointed, didn't score more goals. Clean sheet, lost their goalkeeper. Brendan Rodgers is on there. You can tell his interview. He's very, very happy with the job, and there's still a lot of football to be played, but I think Celtic this afternoon would be delighted.
Who stood out for you today, Darryl?
Well, I'm intrigued to say that it was disappointed for the panel there. Listen, who stood out for me today was I don't think it was a great performance all round, but with 10 men to go on, and it's a very difficult away day, and we still get the 3 points. I think Rangers fans were probably a wee bit excited when we went to 10 men, but there's a couple on the panel, Rangers fans, but at the end of the day, I think we'll kick on from here. I think as I said, it will be 10 or 15 points we will win the league by. I'm quite confident about that, but I know some of the panel are disagreeing. But anyway,
Kenny,
as early, Hugh's right. I mean, it's absolutely fine for any fan to be confident, and I'm sure Rangers fans will come on and will be confident they can overturn the 4-point gap, 7-point gap at the moment with the game in hand tomorrow. I do believe both teams are still trying to find their best form. I thought Celtic were pretty good today, particularly when it went down to 10 men. Never surprised me, to be honest. I mean, I thought at the end of that last 10 minutes of the first half, Livingston did have a lot more control, and maybe that was their best moment, because the minute Brendan Rodgers got them in at half time, they came out, they got their goal, and Celtic actually did control the second half of the game. So it was a decent enough performance. It's another step in the right direction. It's 3 points, forget it's usually a tough game. It is hard to go play on those pitches, and I think it did probably play a part in the ball. I think Brendan was alluding to it as well, that the ball maybe just held up ever so slightly in terms of the sending off incident, but it was a strong performance, and what it does is it puts Celtic in a strong position at the top of the league and puts the pressure on the Rangers tomorrow.
I don't know about you, Kenny. I'm looking about to see who these Rangers fans are in the panel. Just can't see them at all.
Darryl, there was maybe a bit of talk about Gustav Lagerbielke, a bit of focus on him today just after his red card midweek. Do you feel he stood up to the test very well, especially against the physicality of Joel Nouble?
I thought he was fine today, but I've got to laugh at him saying that he doesn't know who the Rangers fans are on
I think his tongue was in his cheek there, Darryl. I think we've lost Darryl. I think that's all he's got to say.
It's been Celtic's best performance of the season, and the first two callers are concerned with the panel and allegations of bias and what have you. Need to try and cheer up. It was a very good win for Celtic.
I was quite surprised. I mean, Darryl didn't seem overly optimistic about the performance. He obviously is very optimistic about the league campaign and what he thinks Celtic can achieve, but he's saying he didn't feel it was maybe the best performance, but down to 10 men away to Livingston, Brendan Rodgers seems extremely happy with it, calling it monumental.
Yeah, what I picked up from Darryl is basically on have a go at one or two of us and have a go at Rangers and Michael Beale, but I think he should have really concentrated on a very, very good performance from Celtic this afternoon. Difficult circumstances, down to 10 men as well, controlled the game, clean sheet, some terrific performances. Matt O'Reilly second half, look back to his best scoring goals. When he starts scoring goals, Celtic are a real threat because he's a talent. And Maeda, Brendan Rodgers names him after the game, quite rightly so. His work rate was terrific. I thought it was a comfortable journey down the M8 to Livingston this afternoon.
When two of your first four league games are at the Tawdry and Ibrox and you win both, and then your next away game in the league is at your so-called bogey ground and you win there with 10 men, it says a lot about the character of the side that you can do that kind of thing away from home. I repeat, Celtic this season have been better away from home than they've been at Celtic Park, so that's a handy thing to have as the season goes forward. You really need strong away form, and Celtic have it right now.
0141951 1025. Thank you to Darryl. Let's speak to Craig, who is a Kilmarnock fan. Craig, that must have been a sickener right at the end today.
That wasn't the best. It's been a bit of a disappointing start to the season personally, I think. I mean, everyone said after we beat Rangers opening day of the season, we'd prove it Hearts. You beat Celtic in the Cup. That, yes, is a good start in itself, but the last three games are very disappointing. Motherwell away, it's a difficult game, yes, but we were in it. Two silly defensive mistakes cost us that game. Ross County at home, you get beat for them. Another team we should be beating, especially at home. And then today, to go to Dundee and have as much of the ball as we had, and then they had 10 men for a long period of the game, and we don't see it out. It's very disappointing for me. And I just don't think. I think the style of play McInnes has is very, very slow, and I think that's what costs us in a lot of games, especially games like today. But we're kind of comfortable when we won each, and then we score the second goal. But he's not moving the ball quick enough and looking to go and kill the game off, especially when they're down to 10 men.
Yeah, I mean, Craig obviously giving us the eyewitness account as a Kilmarnock fan. Everyone was very positive about Kilmarnock in the early stages of the season, as he mentioned those wins against Celtic and Rangers, but that's now winless in 4, especially the manner of it today, to lose that last minute goal. It does just show how quickly things can change in football, and there will now be that disappointment, maybe a bit of a worry for Kilmarnock fans if things don't start to turn around quickly.
It's roles reverse. You know, you look at last week, I think everybody would think that Hibs would have went away from Rugby Park with 3 points. Kilmarnock turned it around. They went today. Dundee have turned it around. Yes, disappointing with the fact that Dundee had 10 men. They did get off to a great start, but if you look at their league form just now, it's 6 games, possible 18 points, have picked up 6. This was a team that, after the Celtic and Rangers performances, everybody's thinking, oh, they're going to be certain to be top 6, but it's still early, because if they won today, they would have climbed into the top 6. So they were so near it. But it's disappointing results like that, especially against 10 men, especially when you're 2-1 up. I think Kilmarnock fans were hoping to come down the road with the 3 points.
Yeah, Craig, I wonder, does it feel maybe as if, Derek McInnes just set up better, or his style is more suited to playing against the likes of Celtic and Rangers rather than the other teams in the league?
I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe a bit of both. I mean, I don't understand the way you play against Rangers and Celtic. Alright, you might have to set up slightly more defensively, but you look at the Rangers game and even the Celtic game, we didn't give them a minute. We were in their faces, we were pressing, we didn't stop. But against the likes of Dundee and Ross County, Motherwell, and even in the first half last week, we're very slow and sluggish, and it's as if we let teams play around us. And I just don't understand why there is that mentality switch.
Yeah, you just wonder, Kenny. Craig's pointing out what he feels is quite an obvious difference in style that Kilmarnock have had over the last 4 games, whether it is something intentional that Derek McInnes is trying something different against these teams, or is it potentially a case of players maybe not being as motivated for games that aren't against the big sides? It's always hard to tell from an outside perspective, isn't it?
I think when what Craig's saying there, when he played against Rangers, they were right at them, they never gave them a minute. Well, I just checked the stats today. Kilmarnock had a lot more of the ball. Obviously, you would expect that when they went to 10 minutes. So maybe some of the positive things against Rangers and Celtic were not as easy as that today because you were more on the ball. But what is now kind of a little bit kind of moaning about with Derek is maybe moving the ball too slowly. The emotion of today's game for a Kilmarnock fan, you've lost a last minute equaliser. That'll feel like a defeat. And I think we said it even before the game. If whoever won that game, if there was a winner, it would have been a really positive start, because I think going dry, I think they would have jumped into kind of 5th place had Kilmarnock won today, and it would have been 8 points out of 18, and it wouldn't have been a bad start. It would have been 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, which wouldn't have been a bad start. And definitely when you look at the league table and you're sitting 5th and you're in the top 6, it's better than seeing where they're sitting at this moment in time. So I can understand a lot of the things. It's been an average start. I think that's what it would be after a really, really positive opening day, big win against Rangers, then you follow up with a cup win against Celtic at home. There would have been a lot of positivity surrounding Kilmarnock and the Kilmarnock fans, and that's just kind of taken a little bit of a hit over the last 4 games. So you can understand the frustrations, but there's a long, long way to go. Anything that Kilmarnock fans think they could achieve can still be achieved moving forward. And again, they've got a big quarter final on Wednesday night.
Craig, have you seen any signs of hope in those last 4 games that things will start to get a bit more positive over the next few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, you take Hibs last week. I mean, to go two down and get a point out of that shows the spirit and the character of the team. But I don't know. For me, there's still something missing. I don't know. I still don't know much about the boy Dallas up front, but I'm hoping that he maybe starts to get a wee bit of a run now, because I've heard obviously he scored a lot of goals for his previous clubs, but I just don't know. For me personally, there's still something missing up in the top end of the park for me. We've not got a natural out-and-out goal scorer. I like Big Vassell. He's physical, he puts himself about, but he's just missing that, to me, that out-and-out goal scoring touch.
Yeah, I mean, Derek McInnes was very keen to get a goal scorer in, a striker towards the end of the window. Andy Dallas was that player. He's not played a lot of football so far for Kilmarnock, but Derek McInnes will certainly be hoping that he can maybe be the man to provide the goals for them going forward.
I'm sure, but I'm looking at the league table and I do understand that the season's still in its infancy, but you can take Hearts on 7 points, Ross County 7 points, Hibs 7 points, Livy 6 points, Kilmarnock 6 points, Dundee. That's half the league who are separated by a single point. So teams in that area fluctuating form. And Kilmarnock last week got out of jail, 2 goals, well done. And today get caught right at the end for a draw. You know, it's early to be writing off teams' chances. We're in the infancy of the season, and they will all grow as the season goes on.
Well, thank you to Craig. 0141951 1025 if you want to be involved. And up next, let's start hearing from a few of the managers involved today, starting with Stephen Robinson on what was a really good win for St Mirren against Hearts.
I believe we should have won by more. We had chances in the first half where I thought we were very dominant, and with 3 goals disallowed, so it would suggest to you we deserve to win the game. Hearts are a very good side. They were always going to have spells in the game, and they proved that. But when we needed to be resolute, we were. We defended very, very well. As I said, back 5 were excellent, and Zach Hemming a superb save. So, you know, we made it harder than it should have been, but certainly very, very pleased with the performance and result.
Yeah, 14 points. They now sit on just 2 behind Celtic.
Yeah, incredible.
It's really, you know, it's just building what was a very successful season last season, getting into the top 6. Yes, the results afterwards, you know, post-split weren't maybe what Stephen Robinson and St Mirren wanted. They didn't get that European football they were striving for, but they've really not let it get them down. The recruitment in the summer looks very good, and he will of course want to sort of limit expectations. He was saying this week it is still very early on in the season, but certainly St Mirren fans will be very excited about the campaign ahead, because they didn't play too well last week, still beat Motherwell. They played very well today by all accounts. Stephen Robinson saying they should have won by more, and getting another 3 points.
In terms of European qualification, again, it's, you know, 32 games left to play in the league, so how can you go overboard with a prediction there? But they are, as of now, 12 points ahead of Aberdeen. It's up to Aberdeen tomorrow to do something about that, but you would think of Aberdeen as being among the European contenders, and already after 6 games St Mirren are 12 points ahead of them. So they have no other course of action to take other than going forward as they are doing, and we'll get a real indication of what's going on when Rangers go there on the 8th of October to Paisley. That's only a couple of weeks away, and we'll find out then what they're made of, St Mirren.
Well, he was asked about expectations after the match as well. Here's what he had to say.
My job's to live in the real world. We've started well, that's all it is. You know, it's a good start. We now go to Easter Road with an opportunity to get to the semi-final, and you know, nobody will get too carried away. There's a group of boys that love working hard, love winning games together, which gives you half a chance. But I believe there's still things we can improve on. You know, our game management at times can be improved, and we obviously would like to take more chances than we are. But if we're creating chances, show that resilience, then you know there's no reason why we can't continue. But I'll let the fans enjoy it, let them dream, and I'll keep within the realism.
Yeah, very much as you'd expect from Stephen Robinson. And even if behind the scenes there were some people at St Mirren who were getting a bit excited, Stephen Robinson wouldn't be saying it out loud, would he?
Of course he wouldn't, because what applies to Stephen and his team is exactly what Hugh was applying to Kilmarnock or Dundee. You know, it is 6 games into the season. You can't escape the fact when he says he lives in the real world. Well, the real world is you've got off to an incredible start of the season. You know, you're undefeated in 6 games. You've actually played against Hibs, Hearts and Aberdeen, all bigger clubs, bigger budgets, all teams that should be fighting for 3rd, 4th and 5th positions, and you're currently occupying 2nd. So it's been a wonderful start. He'll want that to continue. He's got a real opportunity that he talked about on Wednesday night to get to a semi-final, take his team to hand in, and he won't get carried away. The one thing about St Mirren, and it was very similar to his Motherwell team, they know exactly what they are, they know exactly what they're doing. There's a real continuity and stability in their lineup. Their system very, very rarely changes, and that helps when you're winning and you're having a bit of success, because you don't need to. But there's one thing for sure, you know, when you're playing something, they're going to be in the game, they're not going to give you too much, and they have got quality, and they've showed that. Like I said, Hibs, Aberdeen and Hearts, they've all and I think Aberdeen got a last minute equaliser. That could have been 3 wins against 3 teams that really should be at the top of our league.
Well, into the home straight, final chance for you to get involved. 0141 951 1025.
After they play, you have Have your say. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Already into the final part of today's Clyde One Super Scoreboard. The 6 hours have flown in because it has been a dramatic day in the Scottish top flight again. We've got Mario, a St Mirren fan, on the line who must be delighted. But first of all, let's hear from Derek McInnes. A dramatic game, dropping points right at the death. Dundee, who were down to 10 men, managed to get that equaliser. Derek McInnes sent off right at the end as well.
Listen, I'm so angry about the fact that we've chucked away 2 points, and we'll come on to that in a minute. Listen, I was convinced the ball was out, and all I was trying to do was get the ball back to my player. I wasn't trying to stop an attack, I wasn't trying to be clever. And if the ball wasn't out, as the linesman seems to think, then I apologise for that. You know, the referee said he didn't want to send me off, but it's a technicality if I entered the field of play without permission, which clearly I never had permission. So it's a bit bizarre, to be honest, but listen, I'm convinced the ball was out, and it spins back in. But when I needed my linesman to help me, he wasn't there for me. So no, I apologise to the referee. I says, listen, if that ball isn't out, then I apologise. I wasn't, as I say, trying to be clever. I was just trying to get the ball back quickly. The ball boys disappeared second half. Don't know where they went to. Must have been a game somewhere.
Putting in tackles late in the game, Derek McInnes.
He's taking it lightheartedly. I think he knows he made a mistake there, but I think he'll be more concerned about, you know, the 2 points that he's talking about being thrown away. He must feel disappointed. 2-1 up, down to 10 men Dundee. You're thinking, right, this great opportunity for 3 points. And as Kenny quite rightly says, it makes such a difference in that league table tonight and over the weekend. Driving down the road becomes a bit more sweeter. But all credit to Tony Dock and his Dundee team. They never gave up, kept fighting and got the deserved point.
The man's at his work. He's trying to do his best to get his team over the line. And he thinks,
was the ball over the line? That's the big question.
I'd always mark Derek McInnes down as one of the more rational men in our game.
I suppose it depends how rational you are when you've just conceded a last minute goal to 10 men. That might cloud your judgment a bit.
Well, I'll take Derek's word for it that he thought the ball was out, but we're too quick to send people off and do this and do that.
I think it is just the rules though. If a manager enters the field of play, Derek McInnes obviously eager to try and get the ball going again when he says there's no ball boys because they're wanting to try and get ahead. So I think it's more of a sort of technicality rather than it being a wrong decision from the referee.
You'll be familiar with the expression, the law is an ass.
Yes, Mario is a St Mirren fan on the line. Mario, you must be absolutely delighted.
Oh yes, totally over the moon. I'm just back from the game today and I thought we were fantastic to a man. I've got to say, man of the match, I would say give it to Gogic. He never lost a ball the whole game. He won every header, cleared every ball. It's just amazing for the town of Paisley just to see a full house at St Mirren Park. It's a fantastic atmosphere. Families and children are all attending, and it's just long may it continue.
Yeah, talk to us, Mario, because Stephen Robinson is obviously saying that the team can't get carried away. He can't get carried away. Fans are allowed to dream. You dreaming at the moment?
Very much so. I thought we were quite unfortunate last season, not to a European place. But if we continue the way we're going this season, we definitely must get a European place, surely.
What do you think has changed this campaign? It was obviously a really good campaign last time out, just missed out on European football. Is there a different feeling now about St Mirren?
There seems to be. Everyone seems to be there, each other. They're gelling very well as a team. And Stephen Robertson, I think, he's done a fantastic job when he was at Motherwell as well. I think he's carrying on. I'm sorry to say that, obviously, for yourself, Gordon, but he's carrying on from where he kind of left off at Motherwell, and he's making everyone gel as a unit.
Yeah, I mean, togetherness is a big word you hear whenever you speak to any player at St Mirren and you ask about why things are going so well, and they talk about the fact that it's a tight-knit group. It's not cliquey in the changing room. They've got a very good squad full of personalities that gel. How much can that help a squad when everyone is on the same page, pulling in the same direction?
Certainly helps. Everyone will tell you that's played the game that a successful team has a good dressing room. They always say that. But I think the most important thing for any football club, player, manager, if you're winning games, your job becomes so enjoyable. You look forward to Monday's training, you look forward to the full week, you look forward to the next fixture. You get in with so much confidence. Everybody knows their jobs, the belief is there. So winning is a terrific habit, and St Mirren just now have got that habit.
The other thing they've got is the community, and Mario is well aware of that. We had a debate earlier on about clubs who minimise the number of Celtic and Rangers supporters inside their ground. St Mirren are one of those, and they did that because they want to grow their own support. Hearts did it, Hibs did it, Aberdeen did it, St Mirren do it, and he's got Stephen Robinson, he's got the community behind them, and that's a powerful force. I don't know if Mario was old enough to remember when Sir Alex Ferguson was St Mirren manager. He literally drove around the streets of Paisley with a megaphone and get people to go and support their team. And that
on Monday
kind of,
as well.
And that kind of feeling is back at Paisley. To have a full house against Hearts is tremendous.
Mario, when was the last time there was this feeling around the club? So many supporters turning out, so much positivity around the club.
Yeah, it has been quite a long time. Yeah, I totally agree with what Hugh just said. At the moment, Paisley is buzzing. I think I would say the last time was probably 1987 when Ian Ferguson scored the winner of the Scottish Cup. That was a real community, a real buzz around the town, I think. I'm going back away to 87, I would say.
I remember the day very well. Alex Smith was the St Mirren manager. It wasn't the greatest cup final ever seen, but it was a fabulous day for Paisley. And the crowd they had at Hampden that day was terrific. They've got to keep on going. They've got tough fixtures coming up, but there's a belief there, and they're storing away the points nice and early that might sustain them when the blip inevitably comes somewhere down the road. It's a sensational start.
I think Murray would agree that, you know, their success is all down to two Motherwell legends, the manager and Keith Lasley. I'll say no more, Mario.
Well, thank you to Mario. Enjoy your night. Also a good win for Hibs and Nick Montgomery today.
I'm really happy with the overall performance. I thought the first half, again, a little bit nervy. The crowd at times wanting the boys to go forward at every opportunity, and thought we showed good composure, and we created some very good chances in the first half. Second half, again, I think we showed real composure in terms of our build-up. We created a lot of opportunities, so I think 20 chances. We can make 20 chances every week, home and away, then with the quality that we've got in the team. Hopefully we can score more goals, but clean sheet, really important today. I think David Marshall, two shots, I think he's had two saves. One was a big save, and that's why he's an experienced goalkeeper and he's massive important to the club. And really happy for the boys today. Thought well deserved win, and we move on now to a big game on Wednesday night.
Look, it's impossible to tell from two games just how a manager will get on. People will make snap judgments though, and Hibs fans will be happy with the early signs of what they've seen of Nick Montgomery and this Hibs team.
Yeah, I think they would have been disappointed last week for throwing a 2-goal lead away, and again, so would Nick. You know, like his first game, it's a real opportunity. You find yourself 2-0 up, like you'll be thinking it's a dream scenario, and then to throw 2 points away. I mean, the one thing about the Hibs fans is I think with Lee Johnson, and even go back to Heckenbottom, I never really felt that they connected with the Hibs fans at all. And I think again, when you're not doing that, and actually I'd even go even further than that, sometimes kind of rubbing them up the wrong way, you know. So I think when you've got that, it just, as soon as anything goes wrong, they're going to jump on it. I think there's a sense is a little bit different with Nick Montgomery. He's got 4 points in his first 2 games. This was really key for him today to get that win, to get 3 points in front of, what was that, almost 17,000 fans inside Easter Road. It was a really important result today. Again, the fact it's against St Johnstone, a team that are really toiling. He couldn't afford to drop points today, so he's went through there. He's talked about the shots and the chances that were created. It maybe could have been better for him, but it's 3 points. It's a big win, first win for him, and a clean sheet as well, which he'll be absolutely delighted with.
What a game it will be on Wednesday night as well. Hibs, who, you know, have that lift, that new manager bounce, if you like, from Nick Montgomery as well, in the League Cup quarter-finals against St Mirren, who, you know, are at such a high.
Well, if it's anything to go by, the last one I was there, I know the manager's changed. 5-goal thriller. St Mirren cruising at 2-0. Great fight back by Hibs, and then St Mirren got the part and get the winner. So I'm looking forward to an entertaining game there on Wednesday night. That'll be an absolute cracker.
2 big games tomorrow as well. Hugh, Rangers at home to Motherwell. They got that win, of course, midweek against Real Betis, and Rangers fans will be hoping that there's the same atmosphere around that game as there was against Real Betis. Yes, it's not a European night, but there was certainly a lot more positivity at Ibrox midweek than there has been in recent weeks.
The word of the day is monumental. Brendan Rodgers said that Celtic's win with 10 men at Livingston was monumental. A monumental win for St Mirren against Hearts in front of a full house in Paisley. They are only 2 points behind Celtic. Will that still be the case tomorrow? Because it's a monumental day for Rangers at home to Motherwell. They have to build on that win over Real Betis, but Motherwell under Stuart Kettlewell re-energised. Great day in prospect.
Yeah, Aberdeen against Ross County tomorrow as well. Another big game. Aberdeen will hope to take a bit of confidence from that result against Eintracht Frankfurt. I know they didn't get anything, but they certainly looked a lot better than they have.
Yeah, good performance. They should take a lot from it. They've been disappointing in the league. They've got to get back to winning ways. They're at home tomorrow. Aberdeen fans will be expecting 3 points, but Ross County, difficult team to play against.
Kenny, survived your first 6 hour Saturday?
Just, yeah. The back's starting to hurt a little bit now.
Thought you meant with me.
Yeah, it's, oh no, with that as well. Yeah, but no, I'm really looking forward to the games tomorrow as well, because I think it's always tough to come back off the European nights on a Thursday night. So it'll be interesting to see how Aberdeen actually go against a decent Ross County. And like you say, Rangers must win tomorrow. They must build on St Johnstone last week and Betis on Thursday night, with 3 games this week all at home. It's a real opportunity for Rangers to start to build a bit of momentum.
Yeah, well, it's flown in. That's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for listening in at home. Thank you for your tweets. Thank you for getting involved on the phones as well. We'll be back on Monday night to look back on all of today's games, all of tomorrow's matches as well, and then the perfect way to kick off your Saturday night. It's the GBX up next.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lookers Land Rover. Buy your next car or book your MOT service or repair online.